From pretty much the present, this is your host, Adam Graham, bringing you a week of old-time radio detective podcasts from 2012. Because these podcasts are many years old, any offers or information included in the podcast may not be valid unless they're currently reflected on our Great Detectives of Old Time Radio website at greatdetectives.net. Here now is a week of old-time radio detective podcast.
Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13 at greatdetectives.net. Give us a call, 208-991-4783, and become one of our friends over on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Well, this episode is brought to you by the support of our listeners, and I do want to say a special thank you to Lorena, who sent along a donation, and we'll be sending along access to our premium site. This actually marks the start of our second twice-annual listener support campaign. We did the first one back in August, and we've received some additional donations, quite a bit. I appreciate all the support we've received. And basically, the goal of the listener support campaign is to kind of help out with some of the revenue in the absence of sponsors. Podcast advertising, like a lot of internet advertising, has kind of suffered during this current economic downturn. And so we don't have a actual sponsor for our program. And our goal with the listener support campaign is to build towards a long-term goal I have of being able to focus my life and my energy on those things I'm passionate about, including old-time radio, as well as my writing. I've set ideas for other podcasts I'd like to do, but I don't have the time or the energy to do them right. So this is part of that long-term goal. During of course, all year round, anybody who sends us any donation for $7 or more will send along access to our premium site. Well, during this time period, when we're running the listener support campaign, we give away a few extra goodies for those who give $20 or more. For a donation of $20 or more, you can get your choice of a digital download of several modern colonial radio theater productions. Among those available are Perry Mason in the Case of the Velvet Claws, The Father Brown Mysteries, Zorro and the Pirate Raiders, King Solomon's Mine, and Treasure Island. And there's a whole list of other options that are available. This year, for this one, we're adding 2 Twilight Zone radio episodes. There was a Twilight Zone radio series that adapted some television episodes as well as some new ones with some fairly recognizable Hollywood stars. And it was syndicated, and episodes are available for purchase, and we'll send you digital downloads of any 2 of the 114 episodes for any donation of $20 or more. Among the episodes available are To Serve Man, 4 O'Clock, The Obsolete Man, and Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. Or if you don't have a preference, I'd be happy just to send you 2 random Twilight Zone episodes. We're going to be doing Poirot, old-time radio, in a couple weeks. I've been asked to do the BBC programs. Of course, we can't do those, but because they're under copyright. But we are offering the Poirot radio episodes. Your choice of any of the mysteries. My favorite is The 5 Little Pigs, but you can also get Elephants Can Remember, Murder on the Orient Express, or any of the other ones that have been produced. And we also, at the $100 level, we offer all 5 Perry Mason audio dramas from Colonial Radio Theater. These dramatize the first 5 Mason novels: Perry Mason, The Case of the Velvet Claws, Perry Mason in the Case of the Sulky Girl, Perry Mason and the Case of the Howling Dog, and Perry Mason and the Case of the Curious Bride. More information is available on all the options there. Go to support.greatdetectives.net. Now it's time for today's episode of Barrie Craig Confidential Investigator. This one was called The Corpse Who Was Wrong.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Murderers really have a hard time. In other fields, if a man's work is properly appreciated, he gets higher pay. All a murderer gets is higher voltage.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. It all began quietly enough. He walked into my office, stared contemptuously at the rug, sourly at the furniture, and coldly at me. He said,
"Good afternoon, Mr. Craig. I am W. Stubbins.
"How do you do?"
I am an attorney. I represent Arthur Philip Peterson."
"You do, huh?"
"You are questioning my word?"
I was just being friendly.
"That is not necessary."
Oh, forgive me.
Cha.
Is that annoyance or Russian soup?
I find your levity irksome, Mr. Craig.
There's no extra charge, Mr. Stubbins.
Were it not for Mr. Peterson's insistence upon hiring you...
That's Arthur Philip Peterson? Never mind that. You might tell me about the case instead of trying to impress me with Mr. Peterson's importance.
I shall.
Good.
I have here a photograph.
Thanks.
Of Mrs. Peterson. Stella Peterson, to be precise.
Now I have the photograph.
Also, on this paper,
the
address of the lodgings where Mrs. Peterson was last known to be, plus her last place of employment.
I'm to assume that she no longer lives or works at these addresses?
That is correct.
And I am to locate her?
If possible.
How long has it been since she dropped out of sight?
3 months or so.
Somebody wasn't in a hurry.
There were circumstances.
Oh, I'm sure there were. The photograph's nice and clear, but...
I have also here a physical description of the lady. Age, coloring, height, weight, and so on.
Well, that might help, but it isn't exactly what I had in mind. Says here she was 24. How old's Peterson?
61.
Well, now we know a lot more. How well do you know Mrs. Peterson?
I barely know her at all.
Well, in that case, I'll have to see Mr. Peterson. Descriptions are fine, but in a missing persons case like this, you need more. Habits, tastes, so on. They all help.
Seeing Mr. Peterson would do you no good.
Well, why? Is he bashful?
No. He's dead.
With which remark, W. Stubbins decided I had enough information, rose, deposited a check for $500 on my desk, and left. I wondered what the W stood for. The address of Stella Peterson's last known lodging was 1217 West 29th Street. The neighborhood wasn't nice. Unless the photograph was telling lies about Stella's appearance, it wasn't the right neighborhood for her. As a matter of fact, it wasn't the right neighborhood for anyone.
Yeah,
You're Mrs. Cole, the janitor?
superintendent.
Sorry. I've been checking the mailboxes in the hall. Stella Peterson's name isn't on any of them.
Why should it be?
Oh, she lives here, doesn't she?
No,
Oh, she must have moved then.
not from here she didn't.
Not from here. Mrs. Cole, you trying to tell me Stella Peterson never lived here?
I told you.
Oh. She may have been using a different name. If you take a look at this photograph, you might recognize her.
What would a girl like that be doing in a house like this?
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to ask her.
Don't bother dropping around with the answer when you find out.
You don't recognize her?
No.
Well, tell me, how long have you been superintendent here?
10 years?
Thank you, Mrs. Cole.
Don't mention it.
One thing puzzles me, though.
Yeah,
You recognized her name immediately. Didn't ask to have it repeated.
that's so.
I'm still puzzled.
You oughtn't be, mister. What makes you think you're the first one who's been here asking for her?
The interview was definitely at an end. Mrs. Cole shut the door in my face. I had no regrets about leaving that house. It was a process that only the dead wouldn't have enjoyed. I climbed into my car and went away. I wondered how big a liar Mrs. Cole was. It took 10 minutes for me to be sure I was being followed by someone in a green car. I decided it was too early in the case to get drastic about it. I let him follow. Stella Peterson's last known place of employment was in the low 50s. It was also something that called itself the 1020 Club. I had the feeling that the only qualifications for joining consisted of being alive and foolish.
Hey, you're a little early, pal. If you was a bird, you'd get the worm.
And if I were a worm, the bird would get me. I'm looking for Stella Peterson.
It so happens I ain't got her on me. Maybe I left her in my other suit.
Does the name mean anything to you?
It's a girl's name.
Well, she may have worked here under another name. Take a look at her picture.
Oh, let's you and me both go look for her. Then we'll toss a coin.
Why don't you save it for the customers?
No sense of humor.
Recognize this?
That there is a beautiful shade of green.
I like the way they engraved those 20s in the corner.
Let me have a closer look, huh? Thanks.
Huh. Where do I go to find Stella Peterson?
You tried the lost and found department at Grand Central? Hey! You want to be careful snatching a bill like that. You could tear it.
I'll be careful.
You're not letting me keep it?
It's not a sample.
Well, like the guy said, easy come, easy go.
Which guy?
I never heard of him.
Well, it's been fun.
The last customer offered me 50.
He did?
Yeah, but I like you better.
Why?
He only let me look at it. All you come up with was a 20, but at least you let me touch it. So long, pal.
The nice thing about being a confidential investigator is you get to meet such lovely people. Even policemen. Well, Lieutenant Rogers.
Hello, Barrie. Buying me dinner, or are you working?
Well, maybe we can combine the best features of both, Trav.
Name one good feature of working.
Well, you get paid for it.
I keep forgetting that. Working for the department, it's easy to do. Wouldn't your boss object to your eating on his time?
He's dead.
I guess he wouldn't object. He must be a lively corpse if he's going around hiring investigators.
The name's Arthur Philip Peterson.
Oh, very impressive. What's he hired you to investigate?
Well, I've got a picture here. See?
Didn't anyone ever tell him he couldn't take that with him?
He's not really trying. He died sometime last week. Heart. That's his wife. She left him more than 3 months ago.
Uh-huh. What information do you want stolen from the department?
Anything the department has on her, if it has anything.
We'll see. What's the front name?
Stella.
I'll feed it to the gallery boys. What else?
A green car keeps driving around behind me. License number 1W 17660.
You want us to discourage him?
No, I'd feel lonely without him. I'd like his name, though, in case we ever meet socially.
1W17660. I've got a couple of hours' work here, Barrie. After that, I'll be your guest.
Fine. I'll go back to the office. You can call me there. Maybe we'll eat at Willie's Wagon.
No, thanks. I've still got scars from the last hamburger I tried to eat there.
Well, you can't say the meat isn't fresh.
But does it have to be alive?
In a couple of hours, then.
All right. Keep out of trouble. I intend to be very hungry.
I headed back for the office. The green car was still behind me. I couldn't make up my mind whether or not to worry about it. I decided to postpone the decision. But I didn't use the front entrance to the building. The back door and the stairs up would be smarter under the circumstances. Every once in a while, I do the smart thing. It always leads to trouble.
No.
Huh?
Don't put the light on.
Why not?
I'll shoot you if you do.
How good a shot are you?
Pretty good. You're a big man. I'm not very far away from you.
Meaning anybody who could hit the side of a barn door? All right. I'm willing to discuss the matter.
We're not going to discuss the matter. Get away from the light switch.
Want me to leave?
No. Go to your desk.
What am I supposed to use instead of vision? Radar?
Your eyes must be getting accustomed to the dark. Just walk straight forward.
Straightforward. Women and cats are much better at this kind of thing.
Look out!
Oh!
That was a chair you ran into.
Thanks for telling me.
I tried to warn you.
If you really cared, you'd let me put the light on.
No. Sit down.
You mean I happen to be directly above a chair right now?
The one you knocked over. Pick it up.
Oh, okay. If I knew exactly where you were, I could throw this chair at you.
That wouldn't be nice.
It might be. The only trouble is I don't know you well enough yet to decide whether you deserve being thrown chairs at. Well, thanks for asking me to sit.
Mr. Craig.
Yeah?
Why are you looking for Stella Peterson?
What makes you think I am?
But you are, aren't you?
One of the things you want to look for if you ever hire a confidential investigator is whether he knows how to keep his mouth shut.
About confidential things.
Well, yes.
You're looking for Stella Peterson isn't a secret.
It hasn't made the front page of the Times either.
You've been asking people about her?
When I went down to lunch today, I asked the boy at the newsstand who won the 6th at Jamaica. I'm not investigating a racehorse.
That's not the same.
No, it isn't. But there's nothing you can do about it.
Look,
Why not try telling me why you're so interested in anyone looking for Stella Peterson?
I'm interested because...
Yeah?
Because I'm Stella Peterson.
By this time, my eyes had adjusted a little better to the absence of light. I could see her, but not well enough to tell whether or not she was lying. If you want to stop a search, the best way is to indicate that the object searched for has already been found. I wasn't satisfied. You may be Stella Peterson.
Don't you think I know who I am?
But I don't.
Well, I am Stella Peterson.
Repeating a lie doesn't make it into a truth.
I'm not lying.
I didn't say you were. I'm not saying you're telling the truth either. One way or another, I've no way of telling.
Why should anyone imitate me?
Why should you be afraid of letting me look at you in the light?
Too dangerous. Someone outside should see the light go on here.
Sooner or later, it'll have to go on.
But not when I'm here.
Okay. Good night.
But you haven't told me why you've been looking for me.
I haven't told you that I am looking for Stella Peterson either.
Shh.
Too early for Trev.
Someone's out there.
Yeah. Outside the door.
What are you doing?
Moving up to the door. On one side of it. Door isn't locked. We're going to have company. Don't use that gun of yours. So glad you could come.
Hey, let go.
Never come visiting with a gun in your hand.
Okay, I'll drop it. You're breaking my arm.
Oh, thanks. Now, get over to the side. All the way over.
Wise guy.
No, nice. The gun.
Yeah.
And I think the lights. Where the... Door to the next office. Jimmy'd open. That's how she got in here.
How? Who got in here?
You don't see anyone here now, do you?
She could have got out through that door to the next office.
Who could have?
The one who got in.
And who was that?
Well, that's what I asked you.
We're back at the beginning again, huh?
Yeah, it looks that way, don't it?
All right. So far as you're concerned, it began with your walking in here, carrying a gun in your hand. Why the gun?
I thought the joint was being burgled. I am a public-spirited citizen.
And you happen to be strolling past the office? Up on the 4th floor of an office building, late in the evening?
Yeah, that's right. It ain't so drafty up here like down on the street.
Not as safe either.
You're not going to try any rough stuff, are you?
A police lieutenant named Rogers is going to be along in about a half an hour.
I already got all my tickets to the policeman's ball.
Maybe, but what he'll give you is a burglary charge.
Burglary?
Yeah, breaking and entering. Plus attempted armed robbery. Add it up for yourself.
Add it up? That could be 10 years.
Easily.
Oh, now wait. I didn't burgle.
My word's a lot better than yours.
It ain't enough.
Maybe you're right. See that pen on my desk?
Yeah?
Pick it up and put it in your pocket.
Well, what do you... Hey, wait. That'll prove that I robbed you. Nothing doing.
Would you rather I shot you as you were breaking and entering?
But you didn't.
But I will. Pick up the pen.
No. What do you want from me?
What's your name?
Empty.
Who hired you? You prefer 10 years up the river? Meaning you're more afraid of whoever it is.
I better get out of here.
Hey, come back here. You knew I wouldn't use the gun on him. Barrie Craig here.
Barrie. I won't be able to make that dinner date.
Why not?
A homicide was just phoned in. Woman named Cole over on...
On 29th Street?
Yeah. Hey, how did you know?
1217 West 29th Street? She was the janitor? The superintendent there?
That's right.
I'll meet you there.
All right. By the way, before I forget, we checked the license on the green car that was trailing you.
Yeah?
It belonged to a woman named Stella Peterson. So long.
I didn't waste any time standing around and looking surprised. The green car was registered in Stella Peterson's name. That might be important later on. Right now, a woman named Mrs. Cole was more important. She was dead. But I thought she might have something to say to me anyway. Hey, Lieutenant.
Oh, hello, Barrie.
How was she,
Strangled?
Not pretty, but quiet?
Yeah. Body was discovered fast by accident. Grocery boy walked in, found her.
Break, maybe.
Not for Mrs. Cole.
I wasn't thinking of Mrs. Cole. Could I have a look at her, Trav?
Yeah, sure. As soon as I brush a few photographers aside. Come on. I don't know why you want to look, though.
I expect her to tell me something.
Our boy's out of the way. There she is.
Yeah.
I don't hear her talking.
She's telling me plenty, though.
Like what?
Look at her wrists.
Interesting. We hadn't got around to noticing details like that yet.
I expected them.
Burns on her wrist and forearm.
Yeah. Kind that would result if you pressed lighted cigarette ends there.
She was tortured before she died.
That's right. I'm leaving, Trav.
Barrie, you know more about this than
Well, it's not a police job. It can't be. You'd only slow things up. There isn't time enough for that.
You sure?
I have to play it the way I see it.
Okay, Barrie. Luck.
Thanks. The thing was forming into a pattern. I didn't feel bright realizing it because the pattern was backwards. And I was a step behind, as I'd been since the beginning of the case. Maybe a fatal step. The 1020 Club was open for business. I went around to the back. The green car wasn't anywhere, so I went inside.
Hold it, huh? Hey, it's the pal with the $20. You still got it?
What's your name?
Wendell. Is that the name that wins the 20?
Mrs. Cole is dead, Wendell.
Mrs. Cole? This conversation is getting out of hand. Who's Mrs. Cole?
Janitor over on 29th Street. The house Stella Peterson stayed in for a while before ducking for cover.
Yeah, well, janitors don't lead healthy lives. Lots of them die.
Of strangulation?
Well, maybe she was cheating on her husband or not emptying the ash cans right.
She was tortured before she died.
Tortured?
Yeah. The way I figure, whoever tortured her got what he was after.
How do you figure that?
He wouldn't have killed her otherwise. She was a lead. Maybe the only real lead he had.
That could be.
Where's Stella?
Out on the island. A beach shack.
Phone?
No,
Neighbors?
not for miles.
Come on, we're in a hurry. A big hurry. We made time. I didn't break too many traffic laws. Only one. The one that keeps your speed down. We were lucky. We didn't pick up any traffic cops on the way. Or were we lucky? How much further?
Oh, maybe another 10 minutes at this rate.
You carry a gun?
No,
Then don't try being a hero when we get there.
you ain't expecting anything good, are you?
No. Who does the shack belong to?
Mrs. Cole, that's why,
Anybody besides you and Mrs. Cole know Stella are staying there?
I don't think so. But that was before they got to work on Mrs.
Forget it. For now. Stella dropped in at my office.
Huh?
She had some idea of forcing me to tell her who'd hired me and why. Once she found out I was looking for her.
I know.
Sure. You were driving the green car. The one that was tailing me.
Yeah.
Stella took it to drive out to the shack?
Yeah, after she ducked out of your place.
Too bad you didn't know about Mrs. Cole then.
Yeah, too bad. Better slow down. Shack is off a private road. Turning's right ahead.
Okay.
You run out of road another 100 feet.
Uh-huh. All right, now. Come on.
This time of year, the beach is deserted. That's why Stella figured it was safe.
It was for a while. That the shack?
Yeah.
The light's on. Odds are against her being alone. Wendell, maybe you better get back to the car and...
Oh, no, I'm in this with you.
Okay.
Stella's a good kid.
She must be, to get this kind of loyalty. Although, would the fact she's inheriting Peterson's dough make a difference?
She's inheriting it. But the old man said he was going to cut her out of his will.
That was when she left him?
Yeah, he said if she did...
He changed his mind. The window. Yeah. Stella and Empey.
The guy?
Yeah. He must have picked up another gun someplace. He may be jumpy. We'll have to handle this carefully. Is there a back door?
Yeah, leads to the kitchen. You can see the kitchen door from here.
Now, give me a count of 30. Then knock at the front door.
Count of 30. Okay. Think it'll work?
It'll have to. 10, and I made the back door. 5, and I had it open. Crossing the kitchen without knocking over the pots and pans took 8. That gave me 7 seconds. I used them in getting the door to the living room open a crack, and then I waited. Wendell knocked on cue, and I moved fast. Empey had turned to the door. He heard me coming, but before he could get around,
Mr. Craig.
Yeah. That's Wendell at the door. Open it for him, huh?
Yeah, all right.
That was when I heard the sound of the car. I didn't hang around. I ducked into the kitchen.
Hi, Stella.
Wendell. Mr. Craig knocked the man out, the one who... Mr. Craig?
What happened to him?
I don't know. He was just here.
He must have gone out the back way. Oh, I better get this boy's pop gun. He's coming, too. I got it. He'll be all right.
He'll be fine.
Mr. Stubbins.
Mr. Stubbins. Drop the gun, you.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you meant me.
Yeah, better. Empey?
Oh.
He don't feel good.
The idiot. How he ever let you get the best of him, well, never mind.
Mr. Stubbins, what are you going to do?
What do you think?
But why? What have I done to you?
It wasn't you, my dear. It was that blithering husband of yours.
I don't understand.
You left him, justifiably enough. He was turning into a senile idiot. You left him, and he threatened to disinherit you. You ignored his threat, for which my compliments.
Thanks, but
Of course, he tried to get you back. We did discover your address, the place you worked, but I made no great effort. I was waiting for Peterson to carry out his threat.
But why did you care?
He planned to leave his money to various charities, of which I would be sole administrator. I counted on that. As a matter of fact, I rather anticipated the event. I borrowed some of the money. And then the idiot decided he admired you for your courage in leaving him.
Oh, and then...
And he did not disinherit you after all. I faced jail, my dear. I kept hoping until the last moment, but then he died, leaving you his money.
And if I die too?
The money will revert to the estate. I can arrange matters to my satisfaction there. That is why I persuaded Mrs. Cole to give me this address. Why I sent Empey on ahead to hold you, and why I shall now...
Oh, no!
Sorry, my dear, but it's oh, yes.
Wonderful kitchen you've got back there. Mr. Stubbins is all right. He'll live to die. There's not much explanation needed, so if you don't mind, I'll get it over with quick. With Peterson's death, Stubbins had to move fast. But he didn't dare move without confusing the trail. That's why he hired me. If I could find out, fine. If I failed, there was always Mrs. Cole and torture. In either case, the trail would be confused. Why didn't it work? Why did I expect him to be the killer? Because he was the only one who could have sent Empey to my office.
Darling, I owe you everything.
Not really everything.
Well, enough so that I want to give you this.
This is why I wanted to get the explanation over with quick.
You've been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, The Corpse Who Was Wrong, was written by Lou Vittis. Next week, it's the strange story titled The Corpse Who Stayed for Breakfast, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week's story deals with at least 2 corpses, a house on the river, midnight swim accompanied by bullets, and, the corpse who came to breakfast didn't eat a thing. Good night, folks. See you next week.
The National Broadcasting Company has just brought you William Gargan, starring as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Featured in the role of Mrs. Cole was Bryna Rayburn. Don Pardo speaking.
Hi, I'm Dinah Shore, and I'm here to tell you a little about our twice-weekly radio program on most of these NBC stations. We're on every Tuesday and Friday evening, and we do our best to crowd each of our 15-minute programs with real entertainment. Why not make it a regular date to listen to our Dinah Shore show every Tuesday and Friday evening on the NBC Radio Network?
It's another exciting Dragnet adventure tonight on the NBC Radio Network.
Welcome back. Well, I think that maybe there was a little difference between something that's understandable and something that's admirable from the husband's perspective. I'm not certain I buy into that key plot point, but they said that was the conclusion. that he reached, that he admired her for it. But sometimes people act a little weird in mysteries, and this may be one of those cases. All right, well, listener, I should note that there were 7 episodes in between last week's show and this one. And the ones we've got names for was The Man Who Wanted to Be Guilty, Man Trap, and The Hour of Decision. Well, now we turn to listener comments and feedback. Val comments, being a UK listener, I'm in the fortunate position of not knowing any of these series before you bring them to me, Adam. I admit I voted for Nearwolf or Candy in the original listener vote based on the sample episodes you broadcast. But I've actually loved this run. Loved her, loved Rembrandt, loved her marvelous voice. I can picture her in a sassy suit sailing off into the sunset with her handsome copper. What will you be bringing us next, I wonder? Well, indeed, we'll see tomorrow with Christopher London. Thanks for the comment, Val. And Tim, who commented earlier on Candy Matson's Candy's last case, had an additional thought. He said the plot rang a bell with him. The structure is basically Trent's last case. The title, the love angle where the detective suspects the one he or she loves, draws all the wrong conclusions except the explanation and her comeuppance with good grace, vows to renounce detecting in favor of love. E.C. Bentley's spoof charmed Dorothy Sayers and infuriated Raymond Chandler. Bentley is also remembered as the inventor of the Clarihue, the biographic 4-line poem with bumpy meter but always a surprising rhyme of the subject's last name. Candy Matson would never be seen driving a Datsun. She'd cross the Bay Bridge with Rembrandt Watson and look below, scanning the waters for flotsam. Thanks so much for the poem and for the thought. And, you're right. Trent's last case. And if I had thought clearly, I probably, truth be told, would have, there's a radio adaptation of Trent's last case available, and would have probably played that for a 600th episode special. But we'll play it again eventually. Trent's last case, Candy's last case, a very good note and comparison to end on. And it also makes it interesting because I've read, some listeners complain the ending, is kind of, politically incorrect or something like that, but it was a classical ending, borrowed from one of the most popular mystery writers of the time. Of course, they weren't going to let Candy be wrong on that most important question of whodunit. All right, well, we have a comment from Podcast Alley. Great podcast. All right, well, that will actually do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, we continue our listener support campaign. I encourage you to take a look at support.greatdetectives.net as we run this campaign. We do this twice a year. Throughout the year, we always welcome listener contributions, and anyone who sends a tip of $7 or more, we gladly send access to our premium site to. But during this 3-week promotional period, we'll also send out some special bonuses, including digital downloads of great radio programs we can't bring you on the show. And these are available for folks who donate $20 or more. Those who provide a donation of $20 or more can receive, among the options available, any 2 episodes of the Twilight Zone radio series from the earlier part of the 21st century. We are going to be doing Poirot in 3 weeks, and at the $50 level, we have available any one of the BBC Poirot radio plays we'll send you as a digital download. And at the $100 level, we have a gift certificate to Radio Archives that's good for to get any of the various old-time radio sets they offer in very great high fidelity. Other options are available, including the Tales of the Dim Night book for those of you who live in the U.S. and in Canada. So go to support.greatdetectives.net to learn more. Let me know what you would like when you make your donation. And please let me know no later than March 10th what you would like if you do give in the course of this campaign. The deadline for donations is March the 3rd. All right, well, now we begin a new series. This one aired over NBC and is called The Adventures of Christopher London. As I mentioned on a previous show, it starred Glenn Ford, who's still not quite hit this point of stardom in his career. This was a series. It was created by Earl Stanley Gardner. And there were at least 3 series like this where a famous mystery writer created the show, but didn't really write for it, just basically made up a character, and on the strength of the author's reputation, the series went forward. Christopher London's adventures were based in San Francisco, at least those that were based. This is actually the only episode of the 3 we have in existence that was set in San Francisco. The other 2 occurred on the road. So I guess we could say this is Christopher London's only home game we have. Well, this was the 3rd episode of Christopher London. It premiered on January 22nd, 1950. The first episode, title unknown. The second was The Adventure of the Chinese Scroll. And so, here from February the 5th, 1950, is The Adventure of the Emerald Ring.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Christopher London, created especially for radio by the most widely read mystery story writer in the world, Earl Stanley Gardner. Produced and directed by William N. Robeson. And starring Mr. Glenn Ford.
I am Christopher London, private investigator and sometime student of the teachings of the Orient. In the faraway monastery of the Moon of Yesterday in the hills of western China, I learned many things. I like to think that one of them was tolerance, but I find it hard to be tolerant of greed and murder. Yet any man who agrees to look for a beautiful missing heiress along the San Francisco waterfront is asking for trouble, and usually he gets it. In this case, it was me, and I got it. It started in the lavish Nob Hill home of Arthur J. Manners, attorney at law, where I had been invited on a professional basis.
Fix up your drink, London?
No, thanks.
I asked you to come here because I didn't want to talk about this thing at the office.
Oh, it's a nice place you have here. Awfully nice.
Oh, it's too big. Too expensive. Now, first I'd better show you the young lady's picture.
To Arthur, my dear friend and guardian, Helen. Oh, she's a beautiful girl, Mr. Manners.
Too beautiful. Too rich. Too spoiled. From the time her parents died 5 years ago, Helen Falconer has been a constant worry to me. And now this. This time I'm really worried.
Now, let's see. You said a week ago she arrived on the plane from Mexico.
Yes, for her first visit in more than a year. She wired me when to expect her, and she was on the plane. I checked. I found somebody who remembers seeing her get into a dark blue sedan. And that's all, London. She's disappeared. Vanished. And just when I have to produce her in court next week for an accounting of my guardianship.
What about relatives, friends?
No living relatives and no friends in San Francisco. She's never here for more than a few days at a time. Doesn't live anywhere for more than a couple of months at a time. The French Riviera, Rio, New York, Acapulco. Only time I know where she is when she wires me for money.
Well, you've checked the hospitals, I suppose, and the morgue.
Certainly.
Why haven't you gone to the police?
Afraid to. That's why you're here. Where did I put that? Here, you better take this.
Driver's license.
Yeah, she applied for it last time she was here. Age, height, hair, eyes, and so on. Thumbprint, signature. Might help.
It might indeed.
You'll know her by a ring she wears. She never takes it off. Antique emerald ring. Heavy gold setting, stone engraved with a serpent and an arrow. Find that ring and you'll know who it is even if she has her head in a sack. Yes, come in.
There's a Mr. Lawrence Scoville.
Oh, tell him to go away. I'm busy. I said I'd call him if I heard anything.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Scoville. I should have told you about him, London. Claims he's engaged to Helen. Met her recently in New York. Well, maybe not. Says she wired him she was coming and to meet her here in San Francisco. Spends his days mooning around my office. I wish he'd go back to New York. He gets on my nerves.
Well, maybe I'd better start by seeing him.
No. Yes, just a waste of time. He doesn't know a thing.
You interest me, Mr. Manners. Have you changed your mind about wanting me to locate this girl?
Changed my mind? No. Why?
Because you're stalling.
Yes, I suppose I am. But it's because I'm worried. I don't know how much I should confide in anybody.
In that case, we're both wasting our time. Goodbye, Mr. Manners.
Now, wait. No, London, sit down, please. All right. I have reason to believe that Helen has involved herself in some sort of a smuggling operation. For the thrill of it, nothing more. It may be that the headquarters of this gang is at a waterfront dive named El Toro or El Torero, something of the sort. Mind you, I don't say it's true, but it may be true.
Now, you must have some reason for believing it.
Well, I'm not at liberty to give my reasons. I merely warn you that searching for her may lead you into some danger.
Well, in a way, Mr. Manners, danger is my business. I'll keep in touch with you. And I'll say this. Nobody ever began a search for a missing girl with more clues. Waterfront dive named El Toro, El Torero, or something of the sort. Well, it wasn't in the phone book, but I thought I knew how to find it. You take a stroll along the Embarcadero in the fog, and you might find anything. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't hurt you, did I?
No.
This fog is pretty thick, isn't it?
What's the matter? You lost?
Yeah, in a way. I was looking for a place. I forget the name. Stupid.
Yeah. What you want there?
Oh, a drink?
I don't mind if I do.
Well, fine. Let's go. Oh, yes, I remember it now.
Oh, that's swell, honey.
El Toro. That's it.
A joint. Strictly a dive.
Now, you know where it is?
What do you want to go there for?
Well, I told you.
Yeah. You said a drink. What is it really? A dame?
Maybe.
You were going to buy a drink anyway.
Certainly.
Okay, honey. Only no dame you're looking for is going to be at El Toro. I'm going to sit at a table.
Sure. How about right here, huh?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I got the share here.
Hey. Now that I see you in the light, you know you ain't a bad-looking guy. What's your name? Smith?
Yeah, Smith.
I thought it was. I'm Babe.
What'll it be, folks?
Make mine a ginger bourbon.
I think you can find an El Toro or its equivalent on any dockside in the world. The retreat of the Happy Companions in Hong Kong was another El Toro. And the sanctuary of the affectionate friends in Shanghai was another. El Toro. A small, dark place within the sound of the sea, where men speak in low voices to each other of their plans and schemes to catch fortune by the tail. In the small, dark place, there were 7 or 8 seafaring men, a couple of women sitting together, quietly, waiting, I think, for something that would never come. Well, there was a piano player, a bartender, and a waiter. And Babe and me. At another time, perhaps El Toro would have been raucous with the sounds of fighting and of laughter. But tonight, well, tonight it was brooding in the fog, waiting.
Hey, Babe, I've been looking all over for you.
You found me. Mr. Smith, this is Gus. Say hello to the man, Gus.
Hello.
Hello, Gus.
Who asked you to sit down?
My feet hurt.
Just make port, Gus?
Mary Maloney.
Irish ship?
Greek.
How long you been gone, Gus?
Oh, don't you remember?
I should remember how long you've been gone. I never even seen you before.
Babe, listen.
Get lost. I'm busy.
I went up to the room before I come looking for you. I brought a case of some kind of Greek stuff.
Greeks don't drink.
Oh, they don't, huh?
What else did you bring?
We're still married, ain't we?
Who says we ain't?
Yeah. I brought some perfume and stuff.
Well, come on then, you overgrown droop.
Is it okay if I take a poke at Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith's a friend of mine.
Oh, but, babe, I just got...
Okay. Just one, though.
Stand up, Mr. Smith. You're in the wrong port.
It'll be a pleasure.
Hey, babe. Where's my upper plate?
Here, Droop.
Oh, that's lucky. Don't even crack. That's a nice left you got, Mr. Smith. No hard feelings.
No, not at all.
Then try my left.
I don't suppose I was out more than a minute or so. But when I came to, Gus and Babe were gone. And 3 new customers had arrived. 2 men and a girl. They sat at a table in a shadowed corner. Almost certainly the girl was the one I was looking for.
Okay, mister?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Oh, I'll clean this up.
Oh, what hit me?
First day's home from a voyage. Gus always does that. He don't mean no harm. What do you have?
Say, those 3 people over there, did they just come in?
Oh, yeah. While you wasn't paying no attention.
Here's a buck. I guess you must have dropped it.
Thanks.
You know them?
Not me, mister. I don't know nothing.
Do they come here very often?
Oh, mister, why don't you go home? We have enough trouble around here without strangers. It just ain't healthy for strangers here. Especially strangers with noses.
Noses?
Which they stick into other people's business.
Oh.
No, why don't you go home?
I recognized the girl from the photograph Manners had shown me. Although her hair was a different shade, she was heavily suntanned, and the clothes she wore left so little to the imagination that it was hard to concentrate on her face. But if I had needed further proof, I saw the flash of emerald green as she lifted her hand to her cheek. The men with her? One was Oriental, Manchurian probably. The other may have come from the Middle East. Suddenly they seemed to come to some sort of agreement. They got up. The Manchurian spoke an inaudible word or two to the girl, and the 2 men left El Toro together. Well, it seemed obvious that they would soon return, so I took advantage of the moment. Excuse me, Helen Falconer?
Who?
You're Helen Falconer?
That's what I thought you said. I never heard of her.
Have you got a minute?
Sit down.
Thanks. Now, you don't want to change your mind.
About what?
About being Helen Falconer.
I told you I never heard that name before. What's this all about?
You know, it's funny. I got an idea that I was intended to meet you here.
You were intended to meet me here?
Yeah. Or Helen Falconer.
Oh, we're back to that again, huh? You know, I'm getting kind of tired of Helen... What's her name already? Did you really want to meet her?
Yeah. You see, she was supposed to look exactly like you.
Oh, you don't know her then?
A man showed me a picture. Arthur J. Manners, an attorney.
And she looks like me?
Exactly.
How do you like the way she looks?
Oh, I like it.
Have you got a name?
Yeah. Christopher London.
Well, what difference does it make? Call me Helen if you want to. Helen, what's her name?
Cigarette? Helen?
Thanks. That's a good-looking case. Gold?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, it's shiny as a mirror. Here, take it back before it sticks to me.
Thanks. Oh, here's a light.
You know, I'm wondering about you.
As a matter of fact, I'm wondering about me, too.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm wondering if I could get up right now and walk out of here.
And forget me?
Yeah, and forget you.
Do you want to try?
Not yet. Say, that's a beautiful ring. Is it an emerald?
Oh, it's just some kind of green stone.
Yeah, mind if I look at it? That's carved serpent and arrow. Oh, I imagine that's pretty valuable. Aren't you kind of taking a chance wearing it around a place like this?
I usually wear it turned around with the stone on the other side, like this.
Why not simply leave it at home, then?
Oh, no. I never take it off.
Yeah, sort of good luck charm.
Sort of.
Has it brought you any?
Good luck?
Yeah.
All the time, Christopher. All the time.
Helen.
Yes, that's me, isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, does the name Scoville mean anything to you? Lawrence Scoville?
You know more people that I never heard of.
Helen, listen. I'm serious. Now, do you know who you are? Do you know where you are? Where were you a week ago tonight? Oh, 2 weeks ago. Well, a month ago. Don't you know?
Of course I know.
Well, then where?
Why do you care?
Well, answer me.
No.
Answer me, Helen. Can't you remember? Now, where are you going?
Don't come with me.
Why?
They'll be back soon, and I have to go.
Not without me. Waiter, how much?
$1.20.
All right, here you are. Come on, Helen.
Christopher, don't.
Come on. Now, what are you afraid of?
Christopher, can you see in this fog?
Oh, not much.
Neither can I. Hold on to me.
Helen, it's important. Who are the men you are with? The men who are coming back.
Hold me.
No, don't you understand? You've got to answer my question.
I don't know. Hold me, Christopher. Christopher.
Helen.
No. You mustn't ask me anything. It's not safe.
If you're in danger...
I'm in no danger. I know what I'm doing, and I'm safe and protected. But don't ever try to find me again, Christopher, because that's dangerous for you. Worse danger than... Look out!
Where is he? Over here, Inspector. Now, you, what's the date?
What? The 5th.
You know what city you're in?
Oh, San Francisco.
What's your name?
What? Oh, Christopher London.
I think he's okay, Inspector. He started coming to a minute ago.
Yeah. Hello, London. Oh, Inspector Griffith. Ooh. It's too bad you weren't here a while ago.
What happened?
Well, I'll tell you, I was standing along here somewhere with my arms around one of the most beautiful women I ever saw.
Very funny. You didn't see who hit you?
No. Might have been a sailor from somewhere in the Middle East. Maybe a Manchurian.
You kill me, London. What were you doing down here?
Well, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But I seem to have been robbed.
You surprised?
Yeah, let's see. My wallet's gone. Letters, cards, money. Oh, what do you know? I missed my cigarette case.
And you can sign a report in the morning. How do you feel?
Bad, Inspector. Not good.
Get in. We'll take you home. Want to stop at the receiving hospital?
Oh, our song will take care of me.
Oh, yeah, that Chinese boy of yours. Is he a doctor, too?
Our song can do anything. And do it with quotations. Say, Inspector, I'm going to ask you a favor.
Yeah?
All right, here's my cigarette case that those guys missed. It's got some fingerprints on it. Will you have them checked fast?
Give it to me.
Not careful of those prints.
Tell your grandmother. You know, it takes a while.
Even if I told you where to look in the file?
Well, that might help.
A driver's license. Issued to Helen Falconer, this city.
What's the angle?
Well, if there is an angle, you'll be the first to know. All right, you can let me out here.
Okay.
San Francisco Police, 11 p.m. San Francisco Police.
Helen, Falconer. Dan, I want that cigarette case back.
You'll get it after I check.
As I dragged myself up to my apartment, I hoped that our song would be waiting for me with tea and many ancient Chinese quotations. He was, but he was not alone. I had a visitor in a gray flannel suit and striped silk tie.
Mr. London, I'm Larry Scoville. I wanted to talk to you about Helen Falconer, but the way you look, I guess it'll have to wait until tomorrow.
That's all right. That's all right. My injuries aren't fatal. Now, sit down. I'll be with you in a minute.
All right.
Come, Mr. London. I will make first aid.
Yeah. Oh.
This warm, damp cloth will soon erase the signs of violence, as the soft snow hides the scars of the gardener's toil.
Are you still bleeding?
There is no more blood now. May this helpless one inquire what happened?
Hand me the towel.
Oh, here.
Thanks. I don't know our song yet. I got an idea that this is not the first nor the last blood that will be shed in this case. Here. Has Mr. Scoville been waiting long?
Not long.
Yeah, looks a little better. All right, I'll see what he wants. Oh, bring us something to drink, will you?
That's all there is to it, Mr. London. I was in Mr. Manor's office and happened to overhear something that made me think he'd ask you to search for Helen. If you can't tell me anything about where she is, or if you don't know, okay, I understand. But can you tell me this? Is she still alive?
It's no good worrying, Scoville. Now, tell me again. You say somebody broke into your room at the hotel. Now, at what time?
Oh, it must have been between 8 and 10:30 tonight.
And nothing was taken?
Nothing at all.
You're sure about
Certain.
that? Certain. You've no idea what they were looking for?
I can't imagine.
All right. Scoville, have you known Helen a long time?
Well, only a few weeks, really, but it was long enough for us to fall in love.
Then you don't know very much about her. I mean, who her friends are or what she does here and abroad.
Well, No, I guess that's true, but...
I'll get it, Arson. Why, Mr. Manners.
Good evening, London.
Come in.
I was in the neighborhood, and I thought I'd take a chance that you were still awake because Oh, Scoville.
Hello.
Well, you had an accident, London?
More humiliating than painful. That's nothing. Oh, sit down.
Oh, no time. I'm on my way home. I just stopped in to tell you... this concerns you, too, Scoville. To tell you that I've seen my ward and talked with her.
Oh, you did?
Is she all right?
Quite all right.
When can I see her?
I'm afraid you can't see her. The fact is she's fallen in love with somebody else, and she wants you to forgive and forget, I believe the expression goes.
No, I don't believe it.
She's very definite about it. Now, London, I'm glad to say that my suspicions were entirely unfounded. I'll send you a check in the morning, and if you'll return that driver's license, we can consider the matter closed.
I'm sorry, Manners. I haven't got the license. I lost it.
Oh. Well, that's not important, then. Good night.
After Manners left, I got my hat and coat, in spite of Arsong's protests. And then I had trouble with Scoville.
You know something about Helen, don't you? You're going out to meet her now.
Scoville, there's nothing I can tell you.
I'm going with you. I don't believe Manners. I don't believe she'd do that to me.
Oh, it'll be all right, Scoville. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Now, you go back to your hotel, and I'll call you there in the morning.
But, London,
Arsong?
Mr. London, it is not for the trembling lamb to give counsel to the lion,
Yeah.
but...
Sure. You don't want me to go out, huh?
In the night, the tender rice plants sleep.
Yeah.
And sleeping grow.
Look, I know. I'm taking the car, Arsong. If anybody calls, you don't know when I'll be back. I left poor Scoville standing on the street, got my car out of the garage, and headed for the waterfront. For a while, I thought another car was following me, but the fog made it impossible to be sure. I parked my car about 2 blocks from El Toro and started to walk up the Embarcadero. I thought I heard steps behind me, but when I halted, they halted too. Then when I started again, they started. I'd walked about a block when... Scoville. Back a block, I found a telephone at an all-night drugstore and was lucky enough to get Inspector Griffith at Homicide.
Okay, London, I've got it all. Go back and wait till we get there.
Now, just a second. Did you find out anything about those fingerprints?
Yeah, I'll bring the cigarette case with me.
Well, did the prints match?
Yeah, they match.
I thought they would.
So what? So now you know who dame is named Helen Faulkner. Wait for us.
But I didn't wait for Griffith and the men from Homicide. I passed the crumpled figure that had been Lawrence Scoville, alone and shrouded in the fog. There was nothing I could do or say, so I didn't pause. He had been alive, and now he was dead, but uselessly, wantonly dead. In front of El Toro, there was a taxi waiting. The door was open. A girl came out, her face concealed by a veil. But I saw a flash of emerald green as she entered the cab. There was no need for me to follow her. I knew where she was going. I knew where she had to be going. And I was sure that with some fancy illegal driving, I could get there first. I parked my car in the shadows. A taxi pulled up not more than a minute later. I followed her up the gravel walk as quietly as I could and stood behind her as she knocked on the door.
Yes?
Arthur, what happened?
I'm right behind you. Well, shall we go in?
Oh, what is this? Did you come here together?
Close the door, Manners. This is no time for jealous quarrels.
Well, now, what is this, London? What do you want?
I want to make amends for the death of a young man who died because I unconsciously led him to his murderer. We were in Manners' elegant study, the three of us. A girl, still beautiful, but pale and tense. Arthur J. Manners, attorney at law, calm now, almost too self-assured. And Christopher London, who probably looked as if he'd spent a night in a bowling alley as a stand-in for a 10-pin. Now, Manners was being pleasant. No, I'd never seen him quite so pleasant.
Well, I'm glad that you and Helen could meet here.
We met at El Toro. With the briefing you gave me, I couldn't have missed her. You arranged our meeting. You wrote the script and directed the play, but you didn't figure on this ending.
Christopher, listen to me.
What's your name, Helen?
Arthur, what's he talking about?
What do you mean, London? If you've got anything to say, say it. She's Helen Falconer. You know that.
Christopher, I can explain about those awful men at El Toro, but it was just a silly... Well, I don't know. I get into things like that.
Oh, you fools. Don't you see how transparent you've been? How clear as glass?
Get out of here. Get out.
Manners, sit down. That's better. Now, let's talk. Helen Falconer was your ward. You managed her estate. She was out of the country most of the time, and your expenses were heavy. A house like this costs a lot to buy and to live in. And a girl like this runs into money, too. I think you've been taking Helen Falconer's money for a long time. So at last she became suspicious and decided to fly up from Mexico for an accounting.
Well, that's true, Christopher, but I was wrong.
Oh, very wrong.
Now, wait. Apparently you've got the absurd idea that this girl is not Helen Falconer. Well, would a fingerprint prove it to you?
Not on a driver's license, nor a cigarette case. You know, it was a smart idea having your girlfriend apply for a license under the name of Helen Falconer. But it only proves the murder was well planned and long premeditated. You, whatever your name is.
Christopher, please.
That's your ring on your finger? You wear it constantly? You never take it off? You both told me that. Then why isn't the skin underneath the ring white? Why is it as suntanned as the rest of your hand? Don't try it, Manners. Don't.
Christopher.
No, don't worry. I think he'll live long enough to die as the state directs.
Well, I just did what he told me. I didn't know why. You believe me, don't you, Christopher?
Sure, I believe you. And I'll bet the jury will, too. I'll bet they won't give you more than 10 years. Yes, Asan, you and your revered ancestors were, well, it was so right.
Oh.
Yes, greed and duplicity go hand in hand with murder. Arthur Manners killed Helen Falconer on the day she arrived from Mexico. Her body, well, may never be found. But Manners will die because he shot Lawrence Scoville. Scoville must have worried him.
Oh, yes, and murderers must worry.
And he went through Scoville's hotel room because he was afraid the boy might have a picture of the true Helen Falconer. Then he had to kill him because he followed me. If Scoville had seen the girl I thought was Helen, well, the whole thing would have fallen apart.
And the young lady?
Oh, the misguided girlfriend of an attorney at law. With time off for good behavior, she will still be as beautiful when she gets out.
But why were you called in at all?
I was the patsy. If the question were ever to come up, I would have been called on to swear that I had found and identified the missing Helen Falconer and returned her to her worried guardian. That way, Manners would have gone right on receiving the money from the dead Helen Falconer's estate. Only
what?
Only Manners forgot that the phony Helen Falconer's license had been issued less than 6 months ago. And Manners forgot that he'd told me that the real Helen Falconer had not been back in the States for more than a year. Well, our son, we wouldn't have made that mistake. No, would we?
Oh, no, Mr. London. This humble one can manufacture his own official document when necessary.
Yeah, sometimes, our son, I think it's a pity that we didn't choose a life of crime.
Oh, no, Mr. London. It's very appealing, but unrewarding. Remember it is said, if a man walk even tippy-toe on road of wrongdoing, his reward surely waits him at road's end, the hangman's noose.
How true. But you meet such attractive gals along the way.
That was Christopher London, starring Glenn Ford, and created especially for radio by the world's most widely read mystery story writer, Earl Stanley Gardner. Christopher London is produced and directed by William N. Robeson, and was tonight written by Mindred Lord, with music composed and conducted by Lynn Murray. Mr. Ford's supporting company included Joan Banks as the phony Helen Faulkner, Ben Wright as Arthur Manners, Charlie Lung as our song, Florence Hallop, Ted DeCorsia, Peter Leeds, Will Wright, and Stacey Harris. Be with us again next week when Christopher London returns.
What's on NBC today? 1 hour from now, you'll hear Charles Boyer and Dorothy McGuire in the Theater Guild on the Air. And then the American album of familiar music later today. Now, stay tuned for Phil Harris and Alice Faye, then Sam Spade on NBC.
Welcome back. Well, this was a good case. Some pretty solid excitement. Probably needs a little, if anything, may have been a little overwrought at times. I think that there is certainly a type of radio performance like Gerald Moore as Philip Marlowe or Larry Thor's Danny Clover. And you have these characters who are very righteous, moral people who are angry about the work of evil. In this one, I think Ford may have overdid it just a tad, but he does get better as the performances go on. Of course, Glenn Ford was, as we mentioned before, was best known for his Western roles. And I wanted to, for those of you who have the app and premium site, to do a Glenn Ford extra with a Western theme. I couldn't find where, say, Lux Radio Theater had adapted any of the Westerns he'd been in. However, I did find an episode of Cavalcade of America from January 27th, 1953, called The Nugget and the Law. And that will be your app extra for today is The Nugget and the Law. Same thing if you have the premium site, which we provide with any tip of $7 or more. Now we turn to listener comments and feedback, and we begin with a voicemail. Let's go ahead and we'll take a listen.
Hey, Adam. My name's Jeff. I'm calling you from Richmond, Virginia. I was just calling to say I just started listening to your programs about 2 weeks ago. Love them. I appreciate it all. Keep up the good work, and I'll keep listening. Thank you, Adam. Have a great day.
Well, Jeff, thanks so much for listening to us out there in Richmond. Other comments, we go to Kimber, who writes an iTunes review. Yes, it's old-time radio, and there are a lot of podcasts that do that, but Adam Graham adds so much to the podcast because he does a brief, no-spoiler introduction to each episode. It's great for those of us who weren't around when radio was big. Adam plays the episodes chronologically through the duration of each series, rotating so that there are 5 different programs going each week, i.e. Sherlock on Monday, Box 13 on Tuesday. So even if I don't like all the shows, I only have to skip that day. I think this is the best crime/detective podcast around. Well, thanks so much, Kimber. Appreciate that. And then we have this from over on Podcast Alley. I was going to comment on the Old Time Dragnet podcast, but I realized that I am so far behind the times there that the comment I was going to make was no longer relevant. I was going to suggest that you do the Jeff Regan shows here on this podcast. I listen to this podcast every single day and look forward to it. Thank you for all you do. Well, thanks so much. We did actually do Jeff Regan. That was actually the 3rd series we did on Tuesday. The first 2 were Pat Novak for Hire and then Johnny Madero. So if you have iTunes, you just do a search there for Jeff Regan, and that one should come up as a top podcast. We received this email from Spencer, who says, "Thank you so much for all the time you spend on your podcast. I really appreciate it. I've been listening to your Great Detectives podcast via iTunes for a year or so, but had never subscribed. I just went on every so often and downloaded some more so I could work from the oldest episodes to the newest. I recently listened to 290 and went to iTunes to download a few more, for example, 291, and all of a sudden it appears that the oldest one available on iTunes is 407. Do you have any idea how I can get 291 to 406 via iTunes?" Well, thanks a lot, Spencer. The easiest thing to do is to go and download the episodes through the archives. Because of some issues with our feed, we can only keep 200 episodes live at a time, including video theater ones. So you would need to go and download the Thin Man feed, the Abbott's feed, Nero Wolf, and Rogue's Gallery, and I think that would have you about caught up. And I am having trouble getting show feeds established for other series, such as Barrie Craig. I've tried submitting several times with no luck on that, so I may need to come up with something new on that. So that is my best answer for iTunes. Just go to the show feed, and you'll be able to download it that way. All right, well, that will do it for today. We will be back tomorrow with Let George Do It. Well, we continue our listener support campaign. Appreciate all the support we get throughout the year. And during the next 3 weeks, we'll be just focusing on listener support with special offers to those who give more than $20 or more. Everyone who sends a contribution of $7 will get access to our premium site. That remains the same. However, during this 3-week period, we're providing these additional thank you gifts. For those who provide $20 or more, you can get one of several Colonial Radio Theater audio dramas. At the $20 level, you can get Powder River Season 1. It's the great Western radio series done by Colonial Radio Theaters, and you can enjoy that. At the $50 level, you can get a gift certificate to radioarchives.com that is good for the purchase of several smaller radio sets, including Let George Do It, Volume 4, with 2 episodes of Let George Do It. We won't be able to bring you on the program. And then at the $100 level, we have a gift certificate to radioarchives.com, good for the purchase of some of their larger radio sets, any of them, in fact. And there are quite a few episodes of Let George Do It they uncovered and were able to find that were done by the Harry Goodman company up there in Canada. The actual original version is not in circulation, and actually that makes up the episodes that were scheduled to go immediately next, including It's a Mystery to Me, Hand in the Coconut, and Sedan from the City. All these are available from radioarchives.com, and we'll send you a gift certificate for which you can get one of their great radio sets at the $50 or $100 level. All right, well, now it's time to get into today's episode of Let George Do It, A Visit from Merlin.
Personal notice, changes my stock and trade. If the job's too tough for you to handle, you got a job from me, George Valentine. Write full detail. Standard Oil Company of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invites you to Let George Do It. A Visit from Merlin, another adventure of George Valentine.
My dear Mr. Valentine, perhaps you have heard my name, Arthur Thurston Renwick, or just the Renwick Collection of Medieval Art. I don't like violence or violent people, so you can imagine my shock at the following episode. A stranger, Mr. Valentine, and I am habitually kind to strangers, ventured into my somewhat unusual domain, Renwick Manor. A little man in a tattered coat. Due to certain circumstances, I was in a position of feeling it necessary to give him a small gift. But before I could complete this friendly gesture, the man halted me. He gave me a gift. It was a 10th century dagger, Mr. Valentine, stolen from my own precious collection. The dagger was covered with blood.
My husband isn't here, Mr. Valentine.
Oh, thanks, Mrs. Renwick.
This is certainly an unusual house you have. Oh, George, look. A real suit of armor.
Not my size.
Miss Brooks, it isn't a house. It's a castle. You should join my staff on dusting days. You'd find out. He built it on the ruins of some Spanish grandee's old fortress. That's why it's so English.
What?
Oh, don't mind me. You live out here on the ocean, buried in the Middle Ages, and about that far from civilization, with nobody to talk to but King Arthur and all those...
There seem to be plenty of people here now.
Visiting day, Thursday. My husband is a frustrated professor, and so the curious come in to track up the floors and pretend they're interested in his lectures.
Wait. There's a little man standing there. I'm sure he was. Short, tattered old coat. Right in there, behind you.
I didn't see him.
He was there. I'm sure he was. All of you. I'm sorry the tour is over. Excuse me, but the visiting hour is done. It's the hour when we lock the castle gate. I am nervous. This little strange man, he haunts me. But why? Why? And where did he disappear, Mr. Valentine? How?
Look, Mr. Renwick, I think you'd better start at the beginning and
You
tell
met
us...
my wife. She's sarcastic and complains, but we really get along quite well together. You've seen my house, my castle. It's strange. And you say I'm eccentric. Of course I am. The antiquarian. The man who ran away from the present.
So we see.
Miss Brooks. I think what I'm trying to tell you first is that despite all this worship of the past, the Middle Ages, I'm not crazy. A man with a love. Yes. A man to be laughed at. No.
Nobody's laughing, Mr. Renwick. But the stagger
Now,
you talk
here's
about...
what happened. This is a very peaceful place, actually. My only regret is the lack of interest shown by other people in the gray, dusty part of the history that's my specialty. So you can imagine my reaction about 2 months ago when a man, one of the usual Thursday visitors, spoke up and corrected me on a point of English history, pre-Norman, of course. Well, I investigated. The man was quite correct.
That's the same little tattered man?
Yes. And when he showed up again the following Thursday, I complimented him. He only shrugged his shoulders, went off snooping around some more, looking at everything. That's it. He only looks. He seems to want to study over everything I have, my entire collection.
Wait a minute. Hold it a second, will you, please? I did a little research myself. You have, right here in your house, several $100,000 worth of gems, early bracelets, crowns, that sort of
Mr.
stuff.
Valentine, I may be eccentric, but I'm no fool. The gem collection is not in the house. It's in the keep. Yes, real authentic stone walls over a dungeon, that sort of thing. But guarded by my own private guards, and they use the latest locks and latest guns, I assure you. Bonded men who've been with me for years, listed with the police so that not even they could get away with anything. No, it's not theft I'm afraid of.
But the dagger was stolen?
Yes, from this case, right here. But it's the man I'm afraid of, Mr. Valentine. You see, he came back and came back. The guards had several run-ins with him for trespassing. But he always had an excuse. Then finally one day he asked me for the job. The day I wrote you.
The job doing what?
Lecturing, Miss Brooks. He wanted to take my place as guide. Imagine. Well, his knowledge is sufficient. But of course I refused. But I was embarrassed. He has strange eyes. That's when I felt I might give him a gift. Perhaps get rid of him once and for all.
Only instead he handed you the dagger with blood on it.
I've never seen a man look so offended and angry, but only in his eyes. He said he belonged here. Here, I locked the dagger up in this cabinet. It's right.
It's empty.
Wow. Looks like you got it again, huh? You're sure this is where you...
Yes. I locked it up myself. But I'm not surprised. No. Why should I be surprised? He said I had gone too far. I had turned him out. I had collected too many treasures of the past. I'd lived to regret it.
Hey, wait a minute. What kind of a thing is this?
Mr. Valentine, I think I expected this. That it would disappear again.
You did?
I don't know what compelled me. Yesterday, as he left, I spoke one word. I said, Merlin.
You said what?
Merlin. You heard me. I called him that, and he smiled.
Oh, you mean Merlin, like the sorcerer at King Arthur's court?
Stop looking at me that way, both of you. We don't know what's possible. We haven't even scratched the surface of the Middle Ages, the superstitions, the beliefs. Of course, I don't think he's really Merlin, but he follows me. He watches me. Why? He's always here. Why? And his peculiar knowledge. Why? How? I tell you, it strikes me up.
Keep your shirt on, boss. We got him.
What?
Yeah, we got him, I tell you. The little squirt. Nobody in the crowd here today even noticed. He's in the town jail.
Jail?
Just a two-bit light finger boy, that's all he is. So cool off. It's all over. You Valentine?
Yeah, that's right.
Joe's my chief guard. But Joe, you shouldn't have...
He was in the crowd again, boss. You seen him. But he lifted one of them old salt shakers off of the mantle. And both of my boys seen that. Yeah. Pretty neat, huh? 6 months for theft. That'll keep Merlino out of your hair.
What?
Huh?
What did you call him?
Merlino. Says he's a member of the Magicians' Union. Hide that one for laugh. Oh, the boss is a nervous Nellie, that's all, Miss Brooks.
So I gather.
Here, only a couple of cells down this way. Nice to work for, you understand, but a little on the crackpot
This
side.
Merlino seems to have him scared pretty badly.
I don't know why the boss bothered you, though, Mr. Valentine. If I couldn't handle a guy like him with both hands tied behind my back.
Okay. I just want to talk to this guy.
Yeah, well, yeah. Here he is. This is where he was locked. He was locked.
That's so? Where? I don't see anybody.
Now, Joe, cool off.
Yeah.
I didn't turn him loose, I tell you. I don't know how he could get out.
Oh, a great sheriff, you...
Don't let me ask the question.
No, neither one of you are going to. I was home eating supper. You bring a man down here for me to lock up without charges or evidence. Don't blame me if he...
Without what?
Without evidence, he said.
Huh? What?
Yeah, here's Merlino now. Well, what's all the lather about? I guess I forgot to lock that cell door on you, huh?
No, you locked it. But I was hungry myself. I'm just on my way back.
Yeah, but if the sheriff locked the cell, how in the name of...
Please, young man. I just walked out. I'm a magician.
Is that so? Well, this time...
Play out, Joe. Cut it out. Sheriff, you said there was no evidence. Clean that up, will you?
Well, we searched him when he got here. So did the guards. Just waiting to tell you, Joe. There wasn't any salt shaker on this guy.
What? But I seen him take it myself.
We searched, I tell you. There wasn't.
Of course, it's none of my business. I'm just a visitor in your town. Live at the boarding house, as I told you. Suppose I have been kind of a pest to Mr. Renwick. But if you ask me, Sheriff, if anyone is stealing out there, well, his guard here, he's the one I think you should serve.
What? Why, you little half...
Hold it, Joe, easy.
What's
the matter?
What? Salt shaker. In my pocket.
All right, slide a hand at it.
But I haven't been near him.
That's right, Valentine. He hasn't. Not even bringing him in.
I told the boss I'd get rid of you. I will. I'll show you some magic that'll...
Stop it. No, you'll be sorry.
Cut it out, Joe.
You'll be sorry. Now, stop it.
I'll put rabbits in your hat. You can...
Cut it out. Cut it out. I'm the sheriff around here. Now beat it, all of you. Magicians, private cops. Go on, get out. Get out of my hair. Well, there's your teletype, Mr. Valentine. I guess I'd better run the little guy out of town for him, but I kind of hate to. Landlady says he's real nice.
Depends on who you talk to, doesn't it? You don't suppose Mr. Renwick and his guards are trying to frame him for something, do you?
They're all crazy out there for my money.
Yeah, Chicago says he served a sentence once, small-time theft.
He didn't steal today, I'm sure of that.
They say he worked carnivals in the Midwest for a while.
Why is he here? Oh, George, it's getting late.
Yeah, come on.
You want me to go back out to the house with you?
Well, if he wouldn't just shrug his shoulders and walk off like that, it's Merlino I'd like to talk to.
Sheriff! Mr. Valentine, Sheriff!
Mr. Renwick!
What's the matter? What's happened?
He got it. He got every bit. It's gone.
What's gone? Hey, stop shaking. What are you
The
talking
gem collection, the bracelets, jewelry. Merlino's taken everything.
Oh, brother. I thought that place was impregnable.
So did I. but not against a man like him. I told you.
Take it easy, will you? There's nothing supernatural about...
Yeah, the gems were off in that crazy stone place you call the keep, weren't they?
He said I owned too many things in the past. He warned me I should have...
All right. Get back in the car. Come on, let's go. We'll find out what happened, and it won't be magic either.
Won't it? Valentine, I know how he managed it. My wife saw from her room upstairs, over the wall in the moonlight. Yes, I think we found that dagger again, too.
What?
She saw it and came running and screaming. Joe's body, up there, in the moonlight, with the medieval dagger in it.
In just a moment, we'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. New RPM motor oil doubles engine life. That's right, doubles engine life in the toughest test a motor gets. What is this toughest test? Here's another first-hand report on New RPM to tell you. We take you now by transcription to California Research Corporation's laboratories at Richmond, California. The next voice you hear will be research engineer Primo Pinati.
After an intensive study of engines brought into repair garages for overhaul, we were able to determine the causes of engine wear. The next step was to decide on the conditions under which new motor oil formulas were to be tested. We wanted to develop our new oil under conditions simulating the toughest test an engine gets. Tonight, we are going to show you how we arrived at that decision. Ed Welshmeyer, senior engine operator, and Link Mers, engine mechanic, are ready with the test engine. Now here is research engineer Mark Savage, who will take over the story.
The engine you hear is equipped with a piston ring which we had specially treated at the Oak Ridge Atomic Plant. Soon you'll hear a Geiger counter clicking as it measures the amount of treated metal worn from the ring. The greater the wear, the faster that Geiger counter clicks. I see Mr. Pinati signaling the hot engine test is ready. Hot operation is the kind you get on long trips, highway motoring, and hill climbing. The kind most motorists believe to cause the greatest wear. But let's let that Geiger counter give us the facts. Hear those slow measured clicks? Not much wear taking place there. You are listening to the popular belief about hot operation being exploded. All right, now let's switch to a cold engine operation. This is the condition you have in your engine under normal, everyday, short hops, stop-and-go driving, motoring through traffic. Hear that faster clicking? Yes, that's what we found. When it comes to engine wear, cold operation is the toughest test a motor gets.
And in the toughest test a motor gets, new RPM cuts in half the wear rate of critical engine parts, doubles engine life between major overhauls due to lubrication. Stop in for the new RPM at independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations, where they say and mean we take better care of your car. Back to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. A man named Merlino, just a small-time magician, a smiling, limping little man who says he doesn't want to cause anyone any trouble. But he warned Mr. Renwick that the millionaire had collected too many valuable mementos of the past. Now, the most valuable ones have disappeared, and he warned the hot-headed guard named Joe not to try anything rough with him. But Joe did. And now the method of theft has been explained, for Mrs. Renwick has seen Joe's body. Joe has been stabbed.
It was just as plain as daylight. I went up to my room. I looked out. He was still on the roof.
What good does a guard do up on a roof, Mr. Renwick?
But the iron door down there is always kept locked.
I came running to find you as fast as I
George,
could.
how could Merlino get through the door and up here to stab the guard?
How does Merlin do anything?
The name's Merlino, Buster. Calm down, will you? Just show me where this body is.
It's right out there. You can see it.
All right, Mrs. Renwick. Get out of the way, please. Let me get through.
There. It's right. George.
I don't see a body.
It was. I could see. I'm not lying. And the knife in the moonlight.
Disappeared. I'm not surprised. Merlin could easily...
Stay where you are, all of you, will you? Pretty clumsy magic, I'd say. Here's a knife right here.
What? Let me see.
Stay where you are, will you? Yeah. Joe's body's disappeared, all right. But it must have been a hasty job. A good sorcerer would have wiped up the blood.
Yes, Valentine, the blood Joe's all right. Doctor says he's sure. There was a record of Joe's type in the file.
Okay, come on.
But where, George? Why would anyone move a body
Get
after
rid of the evidence, Miss Brooks.
But the knife was left behind.
No fingerprints, no nothing.
Mr. Renwick, come here, will you?
What is it?
My men are going to start searching your whole place.
They won't find anything.
Yeah, that fog coming in off the ocean, I know.
Look, Mr. Renwick, I think it's about time you and I stop this silly, superstitious...
Mr. Valentine, I don't want to sound like a fool. I don't want to believe such things. I don't.
But you think we'll never find the body and we'll never find Merlino again?
I know you won't. I can't help knowing it. He disappears, he makes things disappear. I know how it sounds, but he got what he came for. He carried out his threat.
You've been in the Middle Ages too long for... Look out, Angel.
Well, I'll be... Hello there. You come and call me? Call Merlina?
I said answer my questions.
Please, gentlemen. I don't know anything about bodies. Out of my line.
Oh, for Pete's sake, you admitted you were around here, didn't you?
Of course, of course. There are things here I'd like to steal, but not tonight. No, really, I haven't done anything. You've searched me, haven't you? No keys, no jewels. Ask my landlady. I was with her at the time this poor man was killed. I'm afraid if I did it, I've committed a perfect crime.
Hey, Sheriff! Sheriff, come here!
Well, spot of blood on the garage floor.
Yeah, and tire tracks.
Renwick says this is where they kept that farm truck.
Only now it's gone.
Where's Merlino, Sheriff?
He's taken care of, don't worry.
The perfect crime, step one. Come on, let's go. Sure. Just ditched it in the woods, huh? Not so far from the house either, in a straight line.
Now, this is the truck, all right.
Here's the flashlight, George.
Okay, let me do this.
Yeah. More blood, all right.
What?
A couple of little spots.
Yeah, only no body.
No, but there's room for it to have been carried there, right?
Sure. So from here we move on foot, backwards, back the way this truck came.
It's perfect, all right.
Oh, yeah, sure. There are the tracks in the road.
But they're in sand. I can't prove they're Merlinos.
Of course not. But they're deep. He was carrying something. They don't come back. Then we probably walk back on the rocks. That's the fast way.
And this is the only place you can get down to the beach easily from the road, too. To this cove. Deep. Heavy tide. The perfect place, all right.
To carry a body, to throw it in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's a hard job to convict a man of murder without a body.
Well, you'll find other evidence. Merlino can't.
Oh, yes, he can, Angel. Because what other evidence?
He even hinted at an alibi. Didn't you catch that?
Everything he's done is practically a confession. But you don't think we'll find fingerprints in that truck, do you?
But if he hid the things he stole somewhere around there,
You
then...
don't think we'll ever find them either, do you?
He's not supernatural.
I don't know what he is. Oh, come on. It's practically dawn. Let's go back. Maybe we can shake it out of him. A little better than my jail, huh? Part of the original old Spanish place. Regular dungeon for the Inquisition.
You have to climb down here now. I gave the sheriff my key when he locked him up, Mr. Valentine.
Damp earth floors. I hope he's got pneumonia by this time.
Here, I'll reach that. You seem a little calmer, Mr. Renwick.
I've been with the sheriff's men all night. Yes. I've about decided your perfect crime theory is correct.
Solid iron door. Oh, wait till you see the walls. Solid rock all the way around the cell. 6 feet thick and no windows.
Merlino,
Yeah, he's done it again. He's gone.
Impossible. Everything he's done is impossible. A human being couldn't get out of there.
I had the only key myself. Valentine, for
He's
the
a cripple. He couldn't run very fast. Come on, let's get down to the beach before Merlin climbs back into the Middle Ages. Yeah, he's running.
Some cripple. Fakes everything, doesn't he?
Well, he's got a big head start tearing down the sand there.
In this fog?
George.
Lord, where is he?
He was the end of the cove
He
there.
disappeared right into the fog in the water.
Come on, run. No, along the road, this way.
But Valentine...
Sure, Merlin's a ghost, all right. What's beyond this cove? Another one, isn't there?
Well, sure, you can't see it from above. Just a couple of 100 yards.
Better load your gun, then. This is no ghost we're after now.
Hey, there's a boat there on the beach.
Yeah, a little tiny one. Think one man could carry that, Sheriff?
Sure, easy.
So back at the other place, those heavy tracks could be made by a man carrying a boat instead of a body, huh?
George, what on earth are you driving at?
Brooksy, there hasn't been a single bit of magic performed tonight. It's all been illusion. Things are impossible. Okay, I believe it. They are impossible. You just turn the checkerboard around, look at the black squares instead of white.
Watch it. This is rock. You might slip.
George, now you're crazy.
Almost, but not quite. Now think back, Brooksy. Everything Merlin has done. Steal a dagger, plant a salt cellar on Joe, break loose from jail. Get at Joe on the roof, spill his blood. Then let Joe's body be seen and then make it disappear.
Wait, there he is. Coming out of the water.
Sure, of course. He swam around those rocks, that's all.
Stand still. He can't see us. He'll come this way to the boat.
That's right. But I'd better warn both of you. Don't be too surprised when you see it's Joe himself.
What?
Here he comes.
Hey, grab him. Look out for that gun.
Let go of that.
Oh, no, you don't.
Every bit of the loot right there in the boat. Enough crowns for a whole chest.
Sure, for the big king here.
Shut up.
The bright boy who figured it all out. How to rob his boss without having all the bloodhounds in the world after him.
Okay, you got me. So what?
So I want some more. You hired Merlino, didn't you? To put the scare act into your boss. To set himself up as the man of mystery. To brag that he was out to rob him.
But, George, the murder, or what Mrs. Renwick thought was one, and the blood.
Oh,
and the
sure, Brooksy. That was the neat part. Joe knew her habits. When she'd be likely to look out and see him lying there playing dead. And he cut his finger, spilled some blood, maybe.
Too bad I didn't use yours instead.
Nice little trail of blood, yeah, Joe. So there'd be no doubt in anybody's mind that Joe the guard was dead. Nobody'd look further for the man with the loot. You and Merlin are working together. And then he lets himself look like the suspect. But I'll bet in the final pinch, Merlino's alibi would have been perfect, Sheriff. He would have got off the hook, joined up with Bright Eyes here, and Renwick would have thought it was all magic.
I almost did myself.
George, if Joe did all that, well, he could have let Merlino out of that dungeon thing, too. I mean, chief guard, he'd still have a key.
The biggest impossible of all, yeah, sure. Only where's Merlino now? And why let out a guy whose story is all fixed, alibi and everything? And why do you suppose Joe here didn't leave hours ago in his little boat? That must have been the plan.
I don't know where Merlino is. I don't care.
Well, I do. It's a difference between a grand larceny rap and a bigger rap for murder.
What? Now, look, friend.
Only reason I can think of Joe sticking around is he liked the jewels all for himself. After all, he was dead. And Merlino could always disappear by
I didn't
magic.
touch him. I didn't.
It was risky getting down to that dungeon, Joe. But it would have been riskier bringing Merlino outside to kill him.
Oh, no, that's
And, of course,
not
that was a quiet place. And nobody would ever think of looking under... Nice dirt floor, wasn't it, Joe?
No, I didn't.
Sheriff, I told you Merlin was a ghost. Maybe we better do some digging there before he puts a haunt on King Arthur's castle.
And there he was, Merlin, buried in the loose dirt in the floor of the castle.
Merlin. The name's Merlino, Brooksy.
Well.
And anyway, the story's all over. Oh, I don't blame you, though. I was always a sucker for that stuff, too. The knights and the charges.
I bet Mr. Renwick isn't, not anymore, I mean. I bet he takes up stamp collecting after this.
Oh, I sell out to the British Museum. Yeah, King Arthur himself. You know, I always imagined myself as more of the Sir Gawain type.
What?
Yeah, well, as a kid, you know how kids are.
George, he was romantic. Gwen was the one who was always rescuing a damsel or making love to some maiden.
Oh, no, not always. He slew dragons. He sat at the round table and... Oh, what's the matter? What do you like?
Oh, round table. Oh, I was just thinking. When it comes to romance, darling, you're more of a square.
Oh, great.
Earlier in the broadcast, you heard California Research Corporation scientists explain the conditions under which engines show the greatest wear. Cold operation, the kind you have in your car during short hops, stop-and-go driving in traffic. In tests that simulate these conditions, new RPM motor oil was compared against the best conventional premium-type motor oils as designated by the American Petroleum Institute. The results were amazing. New RPM cuts in half the wear rate of critical engine parts. It maintains the low oil consumption of average engines twice as long. It's sold with a money-back guarantee of satisfaction. Ask for new RPM at standard stations and independent Chevron gas stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard Oil Company of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West. Robert Daly is starred as George with Virginia Gregg as Brooksy. Let George Do It is written by David Victor and Jackson Gillis and directed by Don Clark. Ted Osborne was heard as Renwick. Howard McNear as Merlino. Florence Ravenel, Mrs. Renwick. Ed Max as Joe and Joe Duvall as the sheriff. The music is composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. It costs less to keep a boy out of trouble than to pay for his stay in reform school. It costs less to help a family now than to pay for a family breakup later. It costs less to prevent trouble. And that's what your community chest does. Community chest gifts make a big difference in dozens of ways. Give generously. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, some nice turns in this episode. They did a good job of wrapping this up without any particular spooky explanation. All right, well, now we turn to listener comments and feedbacks. Congrats, Adam. I really appreciate how well you've done with this series of podcasts. Well, thanks so much for your comment and your support. That will actually do it for us for today. We will be back tomorrow with Sherlock Holmes, and next week, join us for another episode of Let George Do It. Well, we continue our listener support campaign. We encourage folks, if you want to support the show, go to support.greatdetectives.net, and any gift is appreciated, and all gifts of $7 or more get access to our premium site. In addition, gifts of $20 or more were entitled during this listener support campaign to a special thank you gift. At the $20 level, you can get any one of the Colonial Radio Theater's dramas that we have listed there, including any of the 3 Father Brown sets or their Perry Mason sets. At the $50 level, you can get a autographed copy of Tales of the Dim Night if you're in the U.S. and Canada. Also, we through Amazon, we're providing instant video downloads of your choice of several Poirot movies. After your donation, we'll send you the download as a gift. You can watch it on your computer, or if you have a Roku or another device such as that. Or alternatively, also the BBC radio drama, audio drama adaptations of Poirot stories are available. You can see a full list of all the great options we've got, support.greatdetectives.net. And now it's time for the case of King Philip's Golden Salver.
From New York City, the makers of Clipper Craft Clothes for Men and 1,036 leading retail stores from coast to coast present the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Tonight's adventure, the case of King Philip's Golden Salver.
Well, if it isn't our old friend Mr. Harris returned from his vacation with a brand new coat of tan.
But still wearing my favorite Clippercraft suit, Doctor, and looking forward to a Sherlock Holmes adventure. What's it to be tonight, Dr. Watson?
Well, Mr. Harris, it concerns the strange disappearance of an elaborate golden platter sent to Queen Elizabeth by Philip of Spain. It was, of course, a priceless historical masterpiece which belonged by rights with the rest of the crown jewels in the Tower of London.
The Tower of London. What a fabulous place that is, Dr. Watson.
It is indeed, Mr. Harris. Dating from William the Conqueror, it has been a citadel, a royal palace, a state prison, and a mint. It is still a fortress, an armory, and a treasury with a resident military garrison.
Quite a setup.
It represents the most glorious as well as the most bloody pages of English history.
And does tonight's story live up to the Tower's reputation, Doctor?
Well, now, suppose I answer that question after you've said a word or two in behalf of Clippercraft,
Fair enough, Dr. Watson. Wherever you go in America, fine stores sell Clippercraft clothes. Yes, proudly sell them, and recommend them to men who demand the most for their money. Now, that's because truly fine clothes, especially in these days of high prices, are nowhere else available at such modest prices. You see, it's the Clippercraft plan that makes these amazing values possible. By concentrating the buying power of 1,036 fine stores from coast to coast, tremendous savings are made in manufacturing and distribution costs. The savings go just one place, to you. At a friendly local independent store, you get superlatively fine Clippercraft suits at the incredibly low price of $40 and $45. Beautifully tailored top coats and fine coverts and worsted gabardine for only $40 and $45, and sport jackets for only $26.50. Compare them tomorrow with clothes selling for many dollars more. And now to return to the Tower of London, Dr. Watson.
Yes, it was one glorious afternoon in early June. The late afternoon sunshine cast a glow of gold on Tower Green. To the right of us loomed the great original keep of William the Conqueror, called the White Tower.
Say, I've seen pictures of it, part fortress, part dungeon.
Yes, to the left was Beauchamp Tower, and directly ahead was the little chapel of St. Peter. Holmes was enjoying one of his favorite forms of relaxation, feeding raw beef to the ravens who still inhabit that spot. The same spot where once stood the scaffold on which was poured out the lifeblood of some of the greatest names in English history.
Here, I'm not so greedy. You've had your share.
Oh, great bloated beastly birds with their evil yellow eyes. How can you endure the sight of them, Holmes? Think of the bodies their ancestors must have fed on.
Don't be so squeamish, Watson. The scaffold which formerly stood on this site was used only for the beheadings of Queens Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, the Countess of Salisbury, Viscountess Rochford, Lady Jane Grey, and the Earl of Essex. No, you next. There's a rule that political prisoners incarcerated in the Tower were beheaded on Tower Hill or hanged at Tyburn. There were, of course, exceptions.
Oh, naturally.
Archbishop Cranmer and Bishops Latimer and Ridley were burned at Oxford. Sir Walter Raleigh was executed in Old Palace Yard. Sir Thomas Overbury was poisoned. The two little princes, Edward V and the Duke of York, were strangled in the Bloody Tower. Then, of course, there was the Duke of Clarence, who was drowned in a butt of Malmsey wine.
I must say, if I had to be executed, that's the method I'd choose. Oh, go away, you shoo! Ow! Holmes, he bit me.
Serves you right for making sport of the Tower's traditions.
Hello. Who's the young lady coming across the parade grounds? She looks vaguely familiar. She's holding her parasol so far over her face she can't... There, you see, she almost ran into that beef-eater. Now she just missed the old lady with the ear trumpet. What's the matter with the girl? Can't she see where she's going?
Probably not, Watson. She's trying desperately to keep from crying.
Great Scottish Lady Cynthia, sister of that ass Bobbison Simon and daughter of the Duke of Balmoral. Now, what do you suppose a pretty thing like that has to cry about?
Life isn't all beer and skittles, Watson, even to those in Burke's peerage. Yes, unless I'm very much mistaken, she's upset because her fiancé, young Lieutenant Ronald Backwater, has been chucked in the guardhouse and threatened with court-martial and dismissal from the Tower Guards.
Good Lord, whatever for?
Stealing, Watson. He's accused of purloining a precious golden platter. Yes, I rather thought we might run into the Lady Cynthia if we visited the Tower this afternoon.
Holmes, you fraud, and I thought you came here to feed the ravens.
Here she is. My dear Lady Cynthia, is there anything I can do?
No, thank you. I'm quite all right. A cinder in my eye. There's nothing. Wait a minute. You're Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
At your service.
Oh, I don't know what to say. Oh, dear, what did I do with my handkerchief?
Allow me to offer mine, Lady Cynthia.
Thank you. Oh, you must be Dr. Watson. Oh, you're both so kind to me. He didn't do it, you know. Ronnie isn't a thief.
Of course not.
It's all the fault of that dreadful old man.
What old man?
Sir Stafford Blodgett, the new mayor and governor of the Tower. He's a dried-up old bachelor himself, well over 40.
Dear, practically senile, eh, Watson?
He doesn't want anyone in the guards to get married.
Blodgett? Great Scott, that must be old Blood and Bullets Blodgett.
Yes, I believe that's what Ronnie and Arthur call him. Arthur can't get married either because his fiancée hasn't any more money than I have. Oh, and I hate that old Blodgett, and I wish he were dead.
You're not the first to make that statement, my dear. I served under him at Maiwand, where he won his V.C. The entire regiment hated his gizzard. Well, he is a magnificent soldier, and as cruel a man as ever ordered his native orderly beaten for forgetting to clean his boots.
Oh, the beast. Why did he have to be put in charge of the Tower? Oh, dear. I'm making a perfect spectacle of myself. What will everyone think?
Now, it's the heat and the sun. Very, very trying. Suppose we just slip into the little chapel of St. Peter's up ahead there.
Where it's quiet and dark and cool. We'll pick out a nice, comfortable pew, and you can tell Sherlock Holmes all about it.
There we are, my dear. Suppose we take the third pew.
Oh, thank you.
Watson, you might offer the lady a whiff of smelling salts and a fresh handkerchief.
I'm sorry to be such a nuisance. I'll be all right in a minute.
Quite. As you know, Watson, the premises known as the Tower of London are completely surrounded by the City of London. It's a self-ruled and regulated community. Its gates are locked at night, and its ancient moat, although it's drained to make a parade ground, is still capable of being flooded.
Sounds fairly medieval.
And the absolute ruler of the entire place, the individual whose word is law, is the mayor and governor.
In this case, old Blood and Bullets, alias Stafford Blodgett.
Correct. He resides on the premises, as do his officers and men.
That's right, Mr. Holmes. Well, last night, Sir Stafford Blodgett invited 5 of the younger officers to his quarters for dinner. The ones who had petitioned to marry this June, you know.
Good Lord, do they have to get permission from him to do that, too?
Oh, no, not to get married, exactly. But he does say whether or not he considers the young ladies suitable, you know.
And if he decides they're not?
Oh, then the prospective bridegroom is advised to give up the whole idea or resign from the guards.
How perfectly barbaric.
Quite.
So you can imagine how dithery the poor chaps were when it got round they'd been summoned to hear the verdict. Dinner was to be at 8, and promptly at 3 minutes past, they sat down at Sir Stafford's oak table in his sitting room in the Byward Tower.
Byward Tower? But I thought the governor's quarters were always in King's House.
And so they are. But that would be too cosy and cheerful for the old vulture. No, he's moved into Byward Tower, because it's grimmer, I'll be bound.
I wonder. It has our rather strategic advantages, you know.
Byward Tower is a curious appellation, eh, Holmes? I wonder how he got the name.
Byward was formerly a synonym for password, Watson. Byward Tower has always been the main entrance to the Tower of London.
Of course. That's why he's moved there, so he could spy on his men as they went in and out.
There could just possibly be another reason, you know. However, suppose you finish telling me about the dinner party.
Oh, it was a very elegant dinner party. Properly chilled white wine with the turbot, and excellent burgundy with the roast. Not that anyone but old Blood and Bullets had much appetite. He eats like an anaconda. Well, finally they came to the suite. It was served on an enormous golden platter, which Sir Stafford had specially brought in for the occasion.
Bring me that platter, Chivers. I'll finish off that last bit of pudding.
Yes, sir.
I want these young hopefuls to have a good look at the design underneath. Yeah. There. Huh. Clean as a whistle. Pass it around. That's a good chap.
Oh, very good, sir.
But I say, Sir Stafford, isn't this that King Philip salver that's kept with the crown jewels?
Right you are, Backwater. Presented by Philip of Spain to Elizabeth when he was courting the lady. Hence the rather frank representation of the goddess Aphrodite and all the little cupids. Yes. A historic piece. Rather appropriate to this occasion, eh, what? That's why I had it brought over. Of course, Philip never managed to marry the lady. We hope you lads have better luck.
Did he have to say that? Dashed bad taste.
Easy, Ronnie. Don't get the wind up.
I don't like the glint in the old buzzard's eye. He's up to something.
And now as the port goes round, shall we proceed to the more agreeable portion of the evening's entertainment? Yes. I have here a list of the young ladies on whom you have bestowed your affection for one reason or another. That's not a joke, Backwater.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Personally, I've never believed that marriage was a help to any man's army career. However, as there's no ruling against it, there's very little I can do, I suppose. Yes, now, let me see. Lieutenant Reginald Wentworth, you wish to marry the Honourable Nora Jennings.
Yes, sir.
No objections.
Oh, poor Reggie. I think he's going to faint with relief.
Next, Lieutenant Herbert Woolsey. You desire to marry a Miss Ruby Reynolds. I understand she's an American. Most unsuitable.
But she was educated in England, sir.
I said most unsuitable. Next, Lieutenant Arthur Amberson.
Here I go.
Has chosen a Miss Fanny Venable. No objections.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Good luck, Arthur.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Buford Wellington intended his, let me see, Lady Daphne Marchbanks. Sorry, Wellington, won't do.
But her father is the Earl of Battersby, sir.
Her mother was a Gaiety girl. Quite out of the question.
What rot, Arthur? Daphne's mother's first rate, accepted everywhere.
Easy, Ronnie. Don't get hot under the collar. You're next.
Oh.
At last we come to Lieutenant Ronald Backwater, who wishes to marry Lady Cynthia St. Simon. Delightful young lady. Most suitable.
That's a relief. Not that I expected trouble, but you...
I have only one thing more to say on this subject. During my tenure here in charge of the tower, I shall make one further ruling about young ladies who marry into the corps.
What's that, sir?
As you know, the officers in this outfit are a hand-picked lot. We've always boasted the best blood in the Empire.
Even if we are only younger sons.
My point. Exactly. Younger sons are so often not too well supplied with worldly goods.
That's one of the reasons we chose the army, sir.
Don't interrupt, confound it.
Oh, sorry, sir.
The pay of an officer in the Tower Guard is enough to keep him in proper style. If he is a bachelor...
Now what's he getting at?
Quiet, Ronnie.
It has, however, come to my attention that men with families sometime have to scrape a bit.
Don't tell me the old boy's going to get us a raise in pay.
Oh, not old blood and bullets.
The Tower Guard is called upon and appear on many occasions of state. During the last Royal Review, I was horrified to notice that the dress uniforms of two captains, both of them married men, showed signs of wear. One of them had a small darn on the left sleeve.
Oh, horrors, the Empire is crumbling.
Ronnie.
Consequently, I feel it incumbent upon me to make a new ruling. Any young lady wishing to marry an officer of the Tower Guard must bring with her a dowry of £5,000 minimum.
That's outrageous, sir. It's impossible. The girls we want to marry, they're from good families, but they're not rich.
Then I suggest you look around a bit further until you find some that are.
But that's unfair, sir. It's rank tyranny.
Backwater. Are you presuming to criticize your superior officer?
Yes, by heaven.
Ronnie.
By what right do you...
Ronnie, shut up, you fool. Don't get the old boys back up. We'll get round him somehow.
What's that?
Oh, I was telling Lieutenant Backwater that you had only his own good at heart, sir.
Yes. I'm glad to see someone in this outfit has some appreciation of my point of view. And now, gentlemen, when Chivers clears the table, I suggest I show you around my quarters. First of all, I'll demonstrate the portcullis. Oh, by the way, Chivers, put the gold platter on the table by the door. And don't take your eye off of it for a minute. I'll take it back to Wakefield Tower myself later on.
Very good, sir. Right away, sir.
And now the portcullis, gentlemen. The machinery that operates it is here in the hallway next to the bar. Wait, I'll demonstrate. I carry the key to the padlock myself. Don't want anyone else fooling with it, you know. Here we are. Now then, if someone will warn them below, the bars of the portcullis are dashed heavy. Wouldn't want to impale anyone.
I'll attend to it, sir.
Look out below! We're lowering the portcullis.
Ready away. Here she goes.
I say, sir, that is impressive.
Yes. This portcullis here in Byward Tower and the one in the Bloody Tower are the only two in England still in working order.
Must make you feel quite safe, sir. Once that's down, no one can get in.
And no one can get out, either. But come along, gentlemen. I'll show you my sleeping quarters. This way. I only use 3 rooms. Kitchen, sitting room, and bedroom. Enough for an old soldier, you know. Here we are, gentlemen. My bedroom.
I say, it's almost circular, built into the tower itself. And what a whopping big canopy bed.
I never use it. Here's where I sleep. Here in this alcove. Don't believe any soldier worth his salt should sleep in a bed. My army cot here. Slept on it during all my campaigns. Sleep on it now and always will, confound it. Probably die in it. A Spartan life. That's what the army needs. Discipline. Self-denial. What's the matter, Backwater? Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm sorry, sir. I feel a bit under the weather. If you'll excuse me a moment, sir. Please.
Typical. Typical of the younger generation. No intestinal fortitude. Can't even carry their liquor. Come over here, gentlemen, and I'll let you see my decorations. Keep them in a box here in the top drawer.
Cheevers, I'm sorry, but the bathroom door seems to be locked.
Oh, yes, sir. The governor keeps the key in the sideboard. I'll fetch it for you. He's a very cautious chap, the governor is. Keeps everything locked up, even to the whiskey. Oh, yes, in the bottom drawer. Here it is. Here it is, sir. What's the matter, sir? You look so stiff and funny, like you was on parade.
Oh, it's nothing, Cheevers. I've just had an idea. A perfectly brilliant idea.
And that ends the tour of the premises. It didn't take long, eh, what? Chivers.
Yes,
cigars, and bring another decanter of port.
Yes, sir.
I say, what's become of Backwater?
Here he comes, sir, across the hall.
Hey there, Backwater. In here.
Oh, sorry, sir. When I finished washing up, I went back into the bedroom to join you.
Well, we're back in here. You missed seeing my medals.
Oh, I say, sir, I am sorry.
Never mind.
Major, Governor.
What up, Chivers? How often must I tell you not to address me as Sir Stafford?
Yes, sir. Well, sir, whoever you are, the platter's gone, sir.
What?
Yes, sir. Someone swiped Philip's golden platter.
Women have an eye for value, so take a lady along when you select your new Clippercraft suit. For there isn't a test Clippercraft clothes can't pass. Note how comfortable you feel in a long-wearing Clippercraft worsted suit. Here's downright amazing value, and in the fine local independent store that sells Clippercraft clothes. These sensational values, in the face of today's high prices, are the result of the Clippercraft plan, concentrating the buying power of 1,036 of the nation's finest stores from coast to coast. That's why today you pay only $40 and $45 for truly fine Clippercraft suits. Only $40 and $45 for top coats, and only $26.50 for sport jackets. Yes, selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest independent stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city.
These leading stores in the metropolitan area are proud to add their names to Clippercraft in your suit, top coat, and overcoat. In Manhattan, John Wanamaker Men's Stores, Broadway at 8th and 67 Liberty Street. Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th. In Brooklyn, Abraham and Strauss. In Newark, New Jersey, Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge Newark. And in Jamaica, the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue.
Now back to our friends in St. Peter's Chapel. Lady Cynthia is just finishing her story.
Well, you can imagine the commotion, Mr. Holmes.
Quite.
Old Blood and Bullet's blood pressure probably blew up and burst.
Oh, it did, Dr. Watson, it did. He lost all sense of proportion. He immediately accused Ronnie of having taken the wretched platter, simply because he was the only one who was out of his sight for a moment.
And also because he'd come back into the sitting room to speak to Cheevers, no doubt.
Yes, but he couldn't have done it, Mr. Holmes. I mean, Ronnie wouldn't think of such a thing.
My dear Lady Cynthia, I hope Ronnie insisted on being searched immediately.
Oh, he did, Mr. Holmes. They didn't find a trace of anything, naturally. But even then, Sir Stafford wasn't satisfied. He said Ronnie had probably dropped it out of the windows to an accomplice.
Sir Stafford's a fool. The presence of an accomplice would mean the theft was premeditated. I gather no one but Sir Stafford knew the platter was to be on the premises.
That's right, Mr. Holmes.
Then there's no possibility of an accomplice. Whoever stole King Philip's salver was present at the dinner party.
What's to prevent an outsider sneaking up the stairs when everyone was in the bedroom admiring Sir Stafford's medals?
You forget, Watson, the portcullis had been lowered. No one could get in or out. No, the golden platter was undoubtedly still on the premises when it was found to be missing.
But that's impossible. Arthur and the rest insisted on being searched, too. And Sir Stafford Blodgett went over the rest of the premises himself.
Very interesting. Eh, Watson? And yet the platter must be there. It's probably still there, in the most obvious place.
Why, Mr. Holmes, what do you mean by that?
Ever read the Purloined Letter, Lady Cynthia?
No, I can't say I have.
If you had, you'd realize at once what probably happened to the platter. Yes, Watson, I suggest you and I go round to the guardhouse and have a chat with the incarcerated Lieutenant Ronald Backwater.
But, Mr. Holmes, they won't let you see him. They won't let anyone see him.
Endurance vile, eh? Yes, I'm afraid the British Army doesn't always observe the rights of the individual as set forth in our common law, especially when there's a blowhard like Sir Stafford Blodgett in charge.
Oh, dear, then you can't do anything for Ronnie?
On the contrary, Lady Cynthia. By tomorrow morning, Dr. Watson and I shall arrive at the guardhouse with a note that should get us by St. Peter himself.
You mean Ronnie has to stay in that dreadful place another night?
One more night should strengthen, not weaken his case. But be of good cheer, my dear. I think I can safely promise that within 24 hours, the platter will have been found, and Ronnie and all his brother officers shall have obtained full permission to marry the ladies of their respective choice.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, you're wonderful.
Quite. My friend and I here have written permission to interview Lieutenant Ronald Backwater.
And who gave it you?
The rather august personage whose name is at the bottom of this pass.
All right, let's have a look. Blimey, the old girl herself. And it says here, you're Sherlock Holmes. Well, I never. Mind if I keep this slip of paper? And my missus will never believe me when I tell her.
As you like.
Come in, gentlemen. Please, just step inside. All right, this way. It's just a step down the corridor. And mind the floor, it's a bit uneven. Lieutenant Backwater, sir.
Yes?
There's a Mr. Sherlock Holmes and a Dr. Thingamabob to see you, sir.
Thingamabob. Oh, such is fame.
Mr. Holmes, who sent for you?
I am acting on behalf of your fiancée, the Lady Cynthia St. Simon. She still wants to marry you, it seems, in spite of everything.
Oh, but she knows. She must know I didn't steal the silly platter.
You did take it, however. Don't you think it's been missing long enough?
The longer it's missing, the more of a fool he'll look when they find it. Oh, I'd like to see his face when it turns up. May not be for months.
Not at all. Watson and I are about to go across to the Byward Tower and find it for him.
Oh, good hunting, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Good hunting.
Cheevers. Your name is Cheevers, I believe.
Oh, yes, sir.
Tell Sir Stafford that Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson have come to trace King Philip's missing trencher.
Oh, you can't do that, sir.
Why not? Don't tell me it's already been found.
Oh, no, sir. Nobody's seen hide nor hair of it since I put it over there on that table by the door the night before last. Just meant you couldn't see old blood and the governor because he's dressing for review. Always puts his medals on for review. Rules is rules with Sir Stafford. He don't never break any of 'em. Worse luck.
Interesting. Very interesting. I'm afraid the illusions of the Tower Guards are about to be shattered. Eh, Watson?
I haven't the remotest idea what you're blithering about, Holmes. Uh-oh. Here comes old Blood and Bullets himself.
What's all this commotion in here? Who in blazes are you?
Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Dr. Watson. Weren't you attached to my regiment in the Second Afghan War?
I joined the Boxers just before my wand.
Then why did you stay with him?
Because my shoulder was shattered by a Jezebel bullet, and you needn't shout at me. I haven't been in the army for some years now, and it doesn't amuse me.
Bravo, Watson. Watson, who is this uncouth individual?
The most famous consulting detective in the entire world, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Never heard of him.
Well, he's here to solve the mystery of King Philip's missing Salver.
Rats! I've looked everywhere. Chivers has looked everywhere. It's not here.
Oh, but it must be. It couldn't be anywhere else. You probably don't know how to look.
And I suppose you do.
Oh, I don't have to look. I know where it is.
You don't say.
It's in the only place it could be, you know. Young Ronald Backwater did remove it from the table. He took it with him to the bathroom, and later, when the bedroom was clear, he hid it in your bed.
But that's preposterous. Do you think I wouldn't have noticed it when I went to bed?
Oh, you would have, if you slept in the bed you claim you've slept in every night since you joined the army. Shall we investigate your army cot, Sir Stafford?
But,
I think we'll let Cheevers do it. Cheevers, would you mind bringing me the platter that's hidden in Sir Stafford's army cot?
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
Sir Stafford, I strongly suspect that you are neither a Spartan nor a celibate, as you claim to be.
Where in thunder did you get that idea?
The next time you have a midnight visitor, I suggest you remind her not to leave her garter hanging on the samovar. Yes, a portcullis is a handy device to ensure privacy, isn't it?
You won't give me away, Mr. Holmes. I'd be the laughingstock of the entire British Army. Think of my reputation. Think of the battles I've won.
Think of the men you've browbeaten and bullied. Think of the young ladies whose hearts you've tried to break.
But I'll change all that. I'll turn over a new leaf. I'll be kindness and consideration itself.
Here it is, Mr. Holmes. The blinking platter. Just where you said it was.
You go to places.
Now, Sir Stafford.
I mean, thank you, Chivers. Thank you very much.
Well, Dr. Watson, I never thought I'd hear of Sherlock Holmes playing Cupid.
And very successfully, too, Mr. Harris. There were 6 weddings in the Tower Chapel that June.
6? But, Dr. Watson, I thought you said only 5 young officers wanted to get married.
5 young officers, yes. But much to everyone's surprise, Sir Stafford decided to become a Benedict as well.
You never know what Sherlock Holmes will accomplish, do you?
You never do, Mr. Harris. You never do.
And now, Dr. Watson, what Sherlock Holmes adventure are you going to tell us next week?
Let me see. Suppose I relate the rather grotesque case of the 6 identical plaster busts, which were smashed one after another, and how murder and a fabulous jewel were involved. It is, of course, the adventure of the 6 Napoleons.
The makers of Clippercraft clothes and 1,036 leading stores from coast to coast have brought you another in the new series of broadcasts featuring the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Our stories are based upon the character of Sherlock Holmes created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes is played by John Stanley, Dr. Watson by Alfred Shirley. The dramatizations are by Edith Meiser. Sherlock Holmes is produced and directed by Basil Lochran, with special music by Albert Berman. If you don't know your Clippercraft dealer, write Clippercraft, 200 Fifth Avenue, New York City. This is Brotherhood Week. Let's make it work. Judge every man by his individual worth, not by some label. Don't spread any rumor against any race or religion, and don't listen to them either. Speak up against prejudice and for understanding. Be sure to listen next week to Sherlock Holmes in the adventure of the 6th Napoleon.
Stay with us for Melvin Elliott and the news, which follows station identification. Fly Eastern Airlines' new type Constellation, tried and proven with 350 million passenger miles of dependability. Fly Eastern Airlines.
Welcome back. Well, another happy ending story. Somewhat of a pattern here. Lighter stories. From what I've gathered, the second season gets a little bit more dark, so be aware of that. Well, we turn to listener comments and feedback. I received this on Twitter. Is there a problem with the recent Sherlock podcast? I had trouble getting them to play today. Do we need him to help? No. I think the Sherlock podcast, those should all be fine. And not aware of any issues. If you do ever have any issues, just go to greatdetectives.net and you can download the latest show. It's right there. David comments, I really enjoy this podcast. Adam has a real passion for the old-time radio and does a great job. You can tell he is into it for the love of old-time radio and takes it very seriously. Love the Johnny Dollar episodes the most. Keep up the good work. It's appreciated. Well, thanks so much, David. And that will actually do it for today. Well, folks, we will be back on Friday with yours truly, Johnny Dollar. And then join us again next Thursday for an episode of Sherlock Holmes. Well, we continue our listener support campaign today. I encourage you to support that. If you can, go to support.greatdetectives.net and learn more. As I mentioned, all year round, for all donations of $7 or more, we give access to our premium site. But as a special thank you and a bonus during our listener support campaign, we offer additional rewards. At the $20 level, your choice of several colonial radio theater plays, including Perry Mason and the Powder River Western radio series. At the $50 level, a gift certificate good for the purchase of a 6-hour radio set from radioarchives.com. Download. And at the $100 level, one that is good for pretty much any set that Radio Archives has available as a digital download. And we'll, of course, thank you on the program. And because a result of people giving in support of the show, we've actually curtailed in the past 6 months affiliate ads at the start of the show. Mostly just thanked our listeners and got into the program. So thanks so much for your support. Well, let's go ahead and get into today's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This one is called The Dameron Manor.
For your listening enjoyment, John Lund as Johnny Dollar.
This is Joe Benson. You call me?
Oh, yeah, Lieutenant. I'm from Federal Underwriters.
All the way from Hartford?
Yeah. They sent me to get a report on the National Savings and Loan holdup.
Oh, I see.
How's the watchman?
Well, he died about a half hour ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Shot 3 times. Hardly had a chance.
Did he ever regain consciousness?
Yes. Long enough to give us a make on one of the 4 guys who heisted the place.
Oh, it's something.
Look, if you want a report, you better come on down and get it firsthand.
I'll be there in 10 minutes, Lieutenant.
You know, many great men have attained the highest office in our land, the presidency of the United States. Can you guess the name of this man? He has been called the father of American democracy. As a young man, he was a scientific farmer, and his work as an outstanding architect had a marked influence on both American and English architecture. In 1800, he and Aaron Burr received equal votes for president. And the House of Representatives, under the influence of Alexander Hamilton, voted this man in. One of the most important acts of his administration was the Louisiana Purchase. As president, he also outlawed the dangerous Alien and Sedition Act and encouraged the pioneering of the West. If you don't have his name by now, here are 2 more clues. He devised the decimal system used in our coinage and invented the dumbwaiter elevator. Who was he? Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States. His life is part of your American heritage.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Federal Underwriters Incorporated, 223 Spear Boulevard, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Dameron matter. Expense account item 1, $240. Plane fare and incidentals, Hartford to San Francisco. I arrived 10 hours after the news of the National Savings and Loan holdup reached the office. Lieutenant Benson was waiting for me when I got to City Hall.
Yeah, you're just in time, Dollar. My men picked up Bernie Manners a few minutes ago. He's down the hall.
Manners? He the one you got an identification on?
Yes. The watchman looked at some mugs we pulled from the files and spotted him right away. Said Manners was one of the 4 men who did the job.
Oh, it's quick work.
Shall we go on down?
Yeah, sure. What about this Manners?
Well, he's a 2-time loser. 25 arrests on his card. All the way from narcotics violation to armed robbery. We'll see what he has to say before we check out his mama sheet.
How'd they get him?
When the watchman made him while we put out an APD. One of the units spotted him because he was going into a saloon. This way.
Oh. Have any trouble?
No.
They find anything?
$2.40. No gun, nothing. You got a smoke?
Oh, yeah, sure.
No fresh air.
Yeah, here you go.
Oh, thanks. Well, what do you think of our weather out here?
Oh, pretty nice, pretty nice. We're still having snow.
I haven't been east in 13 years. Forgotten what it looks like.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I didn't have nothing to do with nothing.
This Manners?
Yeah. Sergeant Friedman, Johnny Dollar.
Hi. Hi.
Hello, Bernie.
Hello, Lieutenant.
Well, let's have it.
What?
A story on the National Savings and Loan job.
I don't know anything about the National Savings and Loan job.
4 men walked in there about midnight last night. Shot the watchman, cracked the safes, and got away with $65,000. Now you know about it?
I don't know anything. What are you guys trying to hang on me?
Where were you last night, Bernie?
When last night?
Between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock.
I was in my room, sleeping.
You prove you were sleeping last night in your room?
Who can prove they were sleeping?
And a landlady, somebody like that.
I don't know.
What do you know?
Huh?
About the National Savings job.
Nothing. I don't know nothing.
Look, Bernie, you can make this thing a whole lot easier.
I can?
Now, who worked it with you?
Who were the other 3 men in on it?
Oh, come on, Bernie. You were always pretty good at talking.
I'm not going to tell you anything. I don't have anything to tell you.
How are you making a living these days?
What?
What do you do for a living?
Well, I've been driving a truck up to last week.
Huh? Where?
Coast trucking outfit.
Did you quit?
I was fired.
Why?
I got in a beef with the boss.
Check that.
Yeah. Lieutenant Benson and Sergeant Friedman continued to question the suspect. He refused to admit any part in the burglary of the National Savings and Loan Company or to name any people who were connected with it. An hour went by. He still refused to talk. 2 hours.
I'm getting tired.
So am I.
All of us are tired, Bernie. Now, look, why don't you open your face so we can get some rest?
I told you I didn't have anything to say. Who's this joker?
Me? My name's Dollar, Bernie. I'm from the insurance company.
What's he doing here?
Worrying about you and your friend.
You don't have to worry about me, Dollar.
I'll try not to.
I thought maybe you was a lawyer. Do I get to see a lawyer?
What do you want to see a lawyer for?
To get out of here, that's why.
You aren't getting out of here, Bernie. You know that. Now, tell us all about it.
Come on, Bernie. You know it's all over. We got enough to take you into court right now.
Don't give me that.
Don't you believe it?
No.
Hand me that.
Yeah, sure. Here.
Thanks. You know what this is, Bernie?
No.
It's a notarized statement from the watchman that was killed. His name was Fuller. I talked to him just before he died. You know what this says? It says that you were one of the 4 men who robbed the National Savings and Loan Company last night. Listen. Me. Please state your full name. Him. Henry Fuller. Me. Where do you live? Him. 235 22nd Avenue. Me. I understand that you are seriously hurt. Is that true? Him. Yes. Me. Do you believe that you are about to die from injuries you have received? Him. Yes. Me. Have you any hope of recovery from the effects of these injuries? Him. No.
Listen,
Shut up, Bernie, and listen. Me. Who caused the injuries from which you are suffering? Him. One of the robbers. Me. Is this a picture of one of the men who caused your injuries? Him? Yes. He was looking at a mugshot of you, Bernie. There were 4 witnesses in that hospital room when Fuller made this statement. It's a positive identification on you. Well?
Can I have a glass of water?
Later, maybe. Who were the other men?
I don't know what you're talking about. Questioning went on. Another hour passed. Everybody got pretty tired. Manners still admitted nothing. It was the usual method of interrogation. Hammer away, hammer away. Sooner or later, he'd spill something important. Lieutenant Benson knew his job.
Once more, Bernie. Who were the other men?
For the 20th time, there were no other men.
There were 4 of you, Bernie.
Why didn't we play bridge?
Tell us what you did all day yesterday.
What?
Start with from the time you got up.
Oh, try to remember.
Yeah, we're all interested.
Well, what is this?
Go on, Bernie. Tell it.
What? I got up about 10. I fooled around all day, and I got to bed early.
Very nice.
What do you want me to tell you?
What you did all day. Who you were with. Where you went.
Oh,
And after you tell us that, you can tell us how you worked on the National Savings and Loan Office.
I'll tell you nothing.
All right, what's your name?
What?
What's your name?
Bernie Manners, you know my name.
Where do you live?
I told you.
Tell us your address.
2020 Army Street.
Who worked with you?
Nobody.
Yeah, just a minute. Benson? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that'll do it. That was about you, Bernie.
What about me, Lieutenant? What about me?
Guess what the crime lab found tucked behind one of the cushions in the front seat of your car?
Oh?
$20,000, Bernie. You didn't hide it very well.
I didn't think you'd be looking.
Did you use your car?
Yeah?
Who were the others?
Eddie Page, Jack Ivers.
One more.
You think I was called Chick, huh? I didn't know him.
Chick one.
Just Chick, and he figured the whole thing.
Who contacted you?
Eddie, he put me in on it. But Chick ran it.
Where can we get hold of Chick?
I don't know.
And what about Eddie Page?
I don't know.
Jack Ivers?
No.
It won't do you any good to lie now.
I'm not lying. I just don't know where you can get hold of any of them.
Now, what'd you do after the job?
Oh, we all got in my car and beat it. I let them off near the Fairmont.
All 3 of them?
Yeah.
That way you split the money?
No, we did that before we left the loan company. Look, I'm tired.
Now, one more thing. Who shot Fuller?
This Chick.
Are you sure?
Well, he was the only one who had a gun. Sure, I'm sure.
Why'd you shoot him?
I couldn't figure that myself. We were all leaving the place. Watson was all tied up and there was no trouble. Chick walked over, stuck the gun in his back, and let him have it. Funny Manners gave us a description of the man known only as Chick. It was pretty much the same as the description given by the watchman. A check through the moniker files revealed a possible 23 persons who answered the general description and background of Chick. Manners was shown a picture of each one. Couldn't identify any of them. I went back to my hotel and went to bed. The next morning, I was with Lieutenant Benson.
They checked the slugs taken from Fuller's body.
Any luck?
They came from a .45 automatic revolver. Looks like it might be a Colt.
Well, that checks with what Manners said.
Yeah, but nothing in our files on the gun itself. Manners is in the mug room now. If this chick ever did time in any California prison, we'll have him on file.
The hard way, huh?
Odd case. Ham's been killed.
What about the other two, Page and Ivers?
Ivers was released from San Quentin 3 months ago. Parole office gave us an address for him on Turk Street. Quinlan Friedman went out there, but the people who run the rooming house say Ivers hasn't been around for 2 days. I've got the place staked out.
What was he in San Quentin for?
Grand theft auto. Did 4 years.
That's the only time he fell?
Mm-hmm. Page has had a little more experience. He's older than Manners or Ivers. He's a 2-time loser. Both convictions were for armed robbery. Police in Denver want him for questioning, too.
Any leads on him?
No local address. He has a sister who lives in Eureka. Police there are talking to him. Should be getting something pretty soon. Communication's been broadcasting this every 30 minutes all night long.
I left Lieutenant Benson so I could talk with the auditors who've been working with the people at National Savings and Trust. By that time, they determined that $68,000 had been taken in the robbery. I spoke to the claims adjuster who had phoned in from Hartford and the officials of the company. I explained the situation with the police and the recovery of $20,000 of the stolen money. They agreed to suspend their claim, pending the arrest of the other 3 suspects and the possible recovery of the entire loot. Expense account item 2, 10 cents. Phone call. I checked with Lieutenant Benson about 4 o'clock.
Hi.
Hi.
Just in time. Got a lead on Page.
Oh, yeah?
1485 Clare Street.
I'll meet you out in front.
Right.
Expense account item 3, $1.35. Cab fare to the address on Clare Street.
Hi.
Hi. In there?
Yeah. You want to be in on this?
If it's all right with you.
Okay. Friedman's covering the back entrance. Quinlan's in the lobby.
Let's go. How'd you get it?
Eureka police talked to Page's sister. Said she'd been writing him here under the name of Ernest Lawyers.
Oh.
We'll take it over there.
Yeah.
Who's there? Looking for Mr. Lawyers. You Mr. Lawyers?
Yeah. What do you want?
Package.
Who from?
Well, it's, Mrs. William Redding, in Eureka, California. You have to sign for it.
Okay.
What's the item? You alone, Page?
Who are you?
Police. Get your hat. Come on, let's go. Want to take a look over there, Don?
Yeah.
What is this? Bernie Manners spilled it all.
Look out. He's got a gun.
Drop that, Page. Oh, good, mister. Why, you lousy cut.
All right. All right.
Come on, get up. Put your hands out. All right, let's go, Page.
And now, with our star, John Lund, we bring you the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar.
Sergeants Quinlan and Friedman took the suspect, Eddie Page, downtown. I drove over to the emergency hospital with Lieutenant Benson, where they patched up the cut in his temple where Page had slugged him with his gun. After that, we returned to headquarters. Sergeant Friedman met us outside the interrogation room.
How do you feel, Joe? Oh, headache. And what about him?
Real quiet so far.
Fine.
We went over the apartment. Now, you'll be happy about this, Dollar.
More money?
$15,000 stuck in a suitcase.
Your insurance company's doing well so far.
Yeah.
Well, let's see about Tough Boy. Remember me?
I remember both of you. How's your head?
Now get over it.
How's your chin?
I'd like to get at you again.
I'd like to get at you.
That's all he's been saying ever since he landed.
You're tied in with Bernie Manners and Jack Ivers on this thing, Page.
Am I?
Yeah. And that's enough for us.
I suppose you're going to send me to prison.
I suppose we are.
Some talk.
Who's Chick?
Chick?
The other guy.
I don't know.
Where's Ivers?
I don't know. Bernie had to stay in here 6 hours. How long are you going to take, Page? As long as you like. We've got all the time in the world. So have I.
You know, we found your cut of the job in your room. Bernie's already told us about you. You're not going to admit anything, huh?
Why should I?
Man was killed on that job. There's a murder charge to go along with everything else.
Do tell. You can make it easy on yourself, Page. Easier for you. Okay. That's the way you want it? Friedman. Yeah. You and Quinlan stay with this bird. Stay with him if it takes all night and all day and all night. I want to see how long he can last.
Okay.
Come on, darling.
Well, what now?
I'm hungry.
Expense account item 4, $6.35. Drinks and dinner for Lieutenant Benson and myself. After eating, we returned to the interrogation room and the questioning of the suspect, Eddie Page. Although he knew there was enough evidence against him to make a burglary and homicide charge stick, he still refused to admit his part in the burglary or to give us the full name of the man known simply as Chick. About 10 o'clock that night, a man who ran a drugstore on Geary Street telephoned that he thought he might have some information that would help. I drove over there with Lieutenant Benson.
Foggy.
Yeah, sure is.
Oh, good evening. Can I help you, please?
We'd like to talk to Mr. Smith.
Yes. Oh, you're the police? Well, I'm Smith.
I'm Lieutenant Benson. This is Mr. Dollar.
How do you do?
You said you had something that might help, Mr. Smith?
Indeed I do, Mr. Dollar. Indeed I do. I read all about the burglary in the papers yesterday, and, well, I have this.
A bill wrapper from National Savings and Loan.
Yes?
Now, where'd you get this, Mr. Smith?
I found it on the floor, right here in the store.
You know who dropped it?
Yes, I think so.
Who?
Well, a man who was in here earlier. I think he dropped it.
What did he look like?
Well, he was tall. He was kind of husky. Oh, he was about 35 years old, I'd say. He wore kind of a dark hat and a trench coat.
You ever seen him in here before?
No, just tonight.
What did he buy, Mr. Smith?
Quite a few things.
Well, like what?
Well, 3 bottles of scotch, and some mixer, and some ice, and some cigarettes.
Uh-huh, I see. When did you find the wrapper?
Right after he paid me for the things.
What size bill did he give you?
It was a 50.
You still have it?
Yes.
Could we look at it, please?
Well, surely. Yes, this way. Here you are.
Thanks.
No, huh?
Brand new.
Did you happen to notice if he left in the car, Mr. Smith?
No, he was on foot. When I found the wrapper on the floor and then remembered the newspaper story, I ran outside to take a look to see which direction he went. He walked right across the street.
You mean he might possibly live around here?
I think so. Like right there, you see? He went into the Alden Hotel.
How long ago was this?
Oh, my, that was not over 15 minutes ago. Hey!
What?
That's him, just coming out on the street there.
Get back. Can you see his face?
Oh, no, not yet.
Is he one of the men you're looking for?
I don't know yet. Sounds like it.
Lieutenant.
Yeah?
Take a look.
All right. Jack Ivers. Let's go. You.
Yes, sir.
Call downtown.
Hey, you. Hold it up just a minute.
He's going for the alley.
Yeah. He ducked right in there, I think.
Yeah. Be careful, Johnny.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Throw out the gun, Ivers. You don't have a chance.
Down!
Yeah.
He's going to try for that fence down there.
Yeah, let's go. He can't see us in the shadows.
Well, he made the fence.
Come on. See anything?
Too dark.
Somewhere in here. Hey. Over there?
Yeah.
Anything?
No.
The apartment house.
You went in the back door.
Yeah. Get down.
Okay?
Okay. Ivers, this is your last chance. Somebody will get hurt if we don't stop him.
That did it.
What's it look like?
Oh, he's done for.
Well, I better phone in.
Jack Ivers, one of the suspects connected with the burglary of the National Savings and Loan Office, died instantly while attempting to escape arrest. While we waited for the coroner's men to arrive, we searched his body and found $12,000 of the stolen money concealed in a money belt around his waist. I accompanied Lieutenant Benson to the Alden Hotel, where we learned from the desk clerk that Ivers had checked in the previous day using the name of David Ward. The clerk said that he shared the room with a man who'd registered as Charles Daly. Daly is still in the room, as far as the clerk knew. We went upstairs.
Well, if this is checked, it's been a good day's work.
Yeah.
210.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Could have sneaked out.
Let's find out. Well,
I'll be.
Drunk?
As you can get.
That's the way I like to pick 'em up. Quiet.
Passed out in the hotel room was identified as Chester Dameron, Toledo, Ohio. A check with authorities there revealed he had a criminal record covering 17 years. His nickname was Chick. Along with Eddie Page of Barrie Manors, he was indicted on charges of burglary and murder. The remainder of the stolen money was found in his hotel room. All told, 99 and 39/100% of the loot was recovered, excepting what Ivers spent for whiskey. Pretty good for federal underwriters. Expense account item 5, $63.30. Miscellaneous while in San Francisco. Item 6, same as 1. My plane fare and incidentals back to Hartford. Total expense account, $551.10. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
We'll return to our program in a moment. But first, I'd like to talk to you about housekeeping. Recently, a woman was interviewing a prospective maid and asked her how she was on light housekeeping. Well, I'm sorry, ma'am, said the young lady. I never kept a lighthouse. I admit that's an old joke, but it generally gets a laugh. However, housekeeping is no joke. That's a job from which no one can escape, whether he lives in a house, an igloo, a military barracks, or a governmental building. Yes, housekeeping is a very important job, even in our government. Someone has to see that the plumbing doesn't leak, that electricity, oil, and coal aren't wasted, that the garden is kept in good shape, that the animals are fed, and that the people have a place outdoors in which to enjoy themselves. Actually, all these governmental household tasks are the work of the Department of the Interior, which at one time was called the Home Department. The biggest job of the department is conservation, the protection of the things that make our country a good place in which to live. The land, water, oil, coal, forests, minerals, fish, and wildlife. These are our natural resources. If it weren't for the conservation work of the Interior Department, before too long, all the farm and grazing lands would be washed or blown away, and all the wildlife would disappear from our fields and forests. Another important job of the department is the development of new natural resources and the caring for our national parks where people are free to go sightseeing or set up camp. And during wartime, the Secretary of the Interior has a special job, namely, making sure that sufficient oil and other fuels are available to our armed forces and defense industries. Yes, our governmental housekeeper, the Department of the Interior, has a most important and vital job in maintaining the comfort and welfare of every citizen of the United States.
Welcome back. I was half listening for the story you're about to hear is true, and that classic dum-da-dum-dum music. This was perhaps the most Dragnet-esque of Johnny Dollar episodes we've heard so far. And I've talked before about the influence of Dragnet on yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and it's somewhat interesting. It was definitely, I think, a focus at CBS in the mid-40s, coming up with something that was CBS radio's alternative to Dragnet. They did the lineup, and then they did a program some people like. I tend not to be as big a fan of 21st Precinct. And you have these kind of insurance procedurals, less the traditional radio detective story of the early days of Johnny Dollar under Charles Russell and the early Edmund O'Brien episodes. And it was a big focus, I think, at the time, trying to kind of keep up with Dragnet. It's worth noting that running at the same time as yours truly, Johnny Dollar, was Broadway is My Beat. And Broadway's My Beat actually was canceled after the 1953 season, while yours truly, Johnny Dollar, continued to air for a while, through the whole 1954 season. By this time in the mid-50s, CBS really had focused, I think it's fair to say this, on shows that could compete with and kind of copy Dragnet. While NBC Radio, ironically, as they had Dragnet, was the one where you could hear some of the old-style, hard-boiled detective shows, like Barrie Craig, and some different experiments with radio that fell into the more fanciful private detectives, such as Rocky Fortune. All right, well, now we turn to listener comments and feedback, and Richard sends us an email from the UK. Thanks for all you do in bringing us the podcast. Been listening to 4 years or so now, just keeps getting better. Just wondering, after hearing you talk about Candy Matson scripts, whether anyone has thought of getting together a group of modern actors to make them into radio shows. With technologies these days, that should be possible, shouldn't it? Thanks again from Rich. Well, thanks so much, Rich. It is definitely technically possible. Indeed, modern radio programs continue to be made. I've talked about and very strongly huge fan of Colonial Radio Theater and their efforts, as well as a lot of the BBC plays. American Radio Theater is another. And so there are companies that could do this. There are individuals that do this, and even groups of amateurs that did it regularly. Speedervac is a famous old-time radio convention that also recorded reenactments of programs. If I were, I think it's possible no one has thought of it. If someone has thought of it and it's for some reason impractical, I would guess that it may be some difficulty with the potential legality of being able to copy the scripts in the library due to potential copyright concerns. Because the Thousand Oaks collection is one that's well known by old-time radio researchers. It's a good idea, and I'd love to hear it. I think the only challenge you ever get when you comes to reenacting old-time radio is fulfilling the listener's expectations. You know, it would be hard, I think, for anybody to play Candy Manson and to do it satisfactorily. There was just a quality about the character and the way Natalie Masters played her. There was this, there was this definite femininity, but with a very strong edge. Somebody who was very tough. It's a very hard, challenging character to pull off. I don't know who could combine those successfully in a way that audiences could buy. But I would love to see someone try. Because, and I think that's critical with some of these lost episodes out there. If there were a way to get scripts and get people to reenact, I'd love to see, there are around 4 episodes from the serial run of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar, that are missing. These are, of course, 5-part, 15-minute serials. The final part is not missing from any of them. But I would love it if it were possible to get reenactors to go ahead and reenact those missing parts so we'd have a complete story. Because I think that's important, and people definitely are into these characters. But it always can be a little jarring and also a little challenging to tell one of these stories in a way that people are going to connect to in our times and think that it's genuine. Because there are some roles it's just really tough to play it well. And so that may be a challenge with Candy Manson, but I'd love to see someone try and do it. Finally, we have a comment from Podcast Alley. Greatly enjoy the shows. Well, thanks so much for your comments and all your support. Our listener support campaign continues next week, and we'll be back on Monday with Barrie Craig, confidential investigator, and then on Friday, join us for Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. Send your comments to box 13 at greatdetectives.net. Give us a call, 208-991-4783, and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/radiodetectives. But from Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.